Welcome back to the Metalheads podcast. My name is George.
And I'm Buke.
And we are here for a second week in a row while the miracles never cease.
Boom. Look at that.
However, I have to warn you all, you enter the house of plague and death. We are both pretty sick at the moment. I thought I sounded bad until Buke showed up. I was like, dude.
So if I'm, lower than normal today, or if, you hear any sniffles or anything, we're trying to keep them off the microphone, but we're both here.
Yeah, I was concerned that perhaps as the episode goes along, my voice may start to go out on me. I sound reasonably okay at the moment, but the longer I talk, I noticed yesterday I was on the phone for a while, the longer I talk, the worse it gets, so bear with us.
And I worked last night and I worked early this morning, so I am, for those bar beer drinkers out there, I'm starting the podcast off with a Flying Dog Brewhouse Rarity Mexican Hot Chocolate Stout. Not too bad.
You should warm it up. And me, I'm trying to get through the episode here with this box of Kleenex that my wife got me. You don't normally mention a box of Kleenex, but I've never come across something like this before. It's a Puffs lotion, or it's like Plus lotion, and this one is a Vicks. And if you just get up on the box, wow, it's got like Vicks Vapor Rub like on the Kleenex. And so I can just sit here and sniff the box and like...
Sniff the box.
The mentholation.
George loves to sniff the box.
I certainly do. It helps clear out my sinuses a little bit. So anyway, yeah, so in sickness and in health doesn't apply only to marriage. In this case, it also applies to podcasts.
Yep.
As we frequently do, we got some input from our friend Will. Why don't we go ahead and jump right into that? Will asked what our ultimate 3-band bill would be. He also wanted to know what 2 bands to add to the big 4. And he asked us to talk about the local DC band that just released their debut album, Yesterday's Saints. Do you have an ultimate 3-band bill?
I went with bands that are still alive. Okay, bands that are still together. On top of that, I also went with bands that might not be Maiden Priest on that level, right, where it would be a blow you away show. I went with, like a personal show that to me I think would be pretty cool. I'm actually going for the opener.
Okay. Because
I had so much fun back a couple months ago seeing them. Gwar.
Okay.
It was just a fun show. I thought it'd be fun for them to come out and open the show. But now the real list. Number 3, Lamb of God.
Okay.
Because I've always been a fan of them. I haven't seen them enough live, and I'd love to see them again. Number 2, Megadeth.
Okay.
I've never headbanged more at a show. As long as they can play the old stuff, doesn't make a difference really who's in the band. And a lot of it's just Dave.
I don't think I've ever seen a bad Megadeth show.
Yeah. I left the show with my friend Rick, and our necks, not for that reason, ached. Yeah, our necks ached from head banging for the next couple of days. Yeah,
at least I like to sniff the box.
And number 1, I've seen them a lot, but Opeth playing a classic old set.
Okay,
nothing new, nothing from Damnation on. Just nothing with clean vocals in it acoustically. So Ghost Reveries, Watershed, that type of stuff.
All right. Well, if you're gonna do 4, then I'm gonna tack on a 4th one too. And my 3-band bill is one that I've wanted to see for years and years, and so you'll probably recognize it because I've mentioned it before. But my 4th band that I'm gonna tack on at the bottom is Gamma Ray, because this is a power metal fantasy themed bill. Number 3, Running Wild.
Oh, I like that theme.
Number 2, Blind Guardian.
Really?
Number 1, what do you think?
Sticking with the theme of the other bands? I don't know.
Manowar.
Yeah. Wow, okay.
I've always wanted to see those bands play together.
That
never, ever in this world happen.
That would be cool. Now, would the fans come out for it? If that,
not
do you think there's support for like Running Wild and Gamma Ray here in the States?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Everybody that I've told that set list to, they're like, Running Wild? Nobody likes Running Wild. I like Running Wild.
Yeah, you like Running Wild. They're not super bad.
Not super bad. Just kind of bad.
No. They're not, pirate metal. They're not your drink from last year.
Ooh, now that would have been a good one to throw on there, too. Maybe some Ailstorm, yeah.
Okay, buddy. What's up next?
Well, obviously, Will hasn't heard the many episodes where I've talked about the Big Four and the Big Seven.
Yep.
So for me, if I wouldn't add 2 bands, I'd add 3 bands. The Big Four, in case you don't know, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer. The 3 bands that I would add to that, making it the Big Seven, would be Overkill, Testament, and Exodus.
And me, I would take off Testament. Sorry, I would take off Overkill, keeping Testament and Exodus to make it the Big 6.
I thought maybe you'd throw Death Angel in there.
Oh, man. Now you're talking. Okay. I
can't believe you disrespect the Overkill like that.
I would take off Exodus and put on Death Angel.
Can't believe you disrespect the Exodus like that. All right. As for yesterday's Saints, we're going to talk about them again a little bit later, so I'll leave that for now.
Okay, moving on.
Let's get into some news stories, shall we? The reunited Stuck Mojo is working on new material. Does anyone care?
There was that one album you gave me from them years back.
I used to really like them.
I know you did.
But it was like 1996, 97, somewhere around there.
Would you consider them, what genre? Rap rock? Rap
like
metal?
Rap metal stuff.
Yeah. Was that before? Were they one of the precursors to that?
They were, gosh. I know I listened to them before I ever heard any like Limp Bizkit or anything like that.
This is before Machine Head even dabbled into the rap rock? Yeah,
probably,
it was.
Yeah. So at the time it was kind of, oh, that's different. That's neat. But then Limp Bizkit came along and they whizzed in that pool.
That's genre's dead and gone.
Yeah.
Dead and gone.
So unless they're planning something more straightforward metal, I can't see getting into that. So James Hetfield says that validation from fans is like the most amazing drug I've ever taken. I can understand that. And personally, I'd like to get hooked on that one. So, if you fans out there would like to validate me, even if you want to just validate my parking, whatever, man, I would love to be doing that drug. So please validate me.
Was James ever into the drug scene, or was alcohol just his drug?
Not really sure. I've heard rumors that I'm not going to substantiate.
Yeah, of course. Because Metallica will come at you for everything.
Yeah, I don't want to be like, Mr. Washburn? Lars Ulrich jumps through the doorway and starts spazzing out on me. What are you talking about, man? We don't do any drugs.
But yeah, I always heard alcohol was their thing. I didn't grow up with it like you did. I never heard if they were like a Phil Anselmo and
right.
Escapades with drugs were known.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of any like
hard. They weren't
hard facts or anything. Speaking of Metallica, did you see the video for the sock puppet parody of Master of Puppets?
Yeah.
They're made up a band called Lintalica, and the song Master of Sock Puppets. That's pretty damn hilarious.
That was pretty good.
The music and the singing were quite good, and the lyrics were hilarious.
Yes, and the sock puppets were done well too.
Yes. So if you haven't seen that yet, go up on YouTube and look up Lintalica, Master of Sock Puppets. Think you'll be amused. Down released a video for the song Conjure from Down 4 Part 2.
Yep.
Aren't they about a year late to that party? Didn't that come out a year ago? Shouldn't they be releasing like Part 3 now?
Part 3 should be out this year. But
it probably won't be.
Probably
they just release a video and go, that's it for this year.
That album, it's one of the songs from that album made my top songs of last year. It was a great album. Anything to kind of keep that album, people talking about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I guess.
Speaking about Down, did you see Down members, Pepper, did you see that Corrosion of Conformity is playing Auto Bar tomorrow? It's a local club here in Baltimore. And my favorite Corrosion of Conformity album, Blind, it has a Blind logo right next to Corrosion of Conformity.
So is Pepper singing?
I believe so.
Dude, why are we not there?
So if they're playing Blind, that's pretty sweet. Because I'm going to the Caps game.
If Pepper's
singing, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he only sang one song on that album.
Yes.
But Damn.
I Hate God is there. Corrosion of Conformity.
How did we miss this?
We're just not metal.
I've never been to Auto Bar. It sounds...
Yeah, someone was stabbed over there over the summer and killed.
Yeah, it was like one of the bouncers or something.
Yeah, like a fight spewed out into the streets, and he was stabbed.
In the neck.
Is that near where we go?
I don't know. I've never been. I figured if I haven't been there, it must be a real dive. And with people getting killed there, maybe I don't want to go there.
I am looking up the show tomorrow because it was pretty cool lineup. Never mind. The lineup's not as strong as I thought it was, but it's I Hate God, COC Blind, Cro-Mags, Misery Index, and Fuck You, Pay Me.
Well, Misery Index is okay, and I've never been a real Cro-Mags fan.
Did one of their singers stab somebody too, like a year and a half ago, or a member of the band?
No, I don't remember anything about that.
Yeah, I believe so. He raged at a show and stabbed people.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Probably won't be going to that, even though I'd like to see COC. Moving on. There's a new Ensiferum song called Heathen Horde available for streaming over at SoundCloud. I've given this album a listen, and sounds like it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I also heard a new Moonspell song called Extinct, which is also the name of their forthcoming album. This is also streaming at SoundCloud. I was really digging this song because it's got like harsh vocals in there with like some of his really cool clean vocals that he does. It was cool.
Is it going back to the earlier stuff that we liked from them? Because they kind of lost me the past couple years.
Yeah, I mean, even their last album was kind of like this. It was like Wolfheart with a little bit of Irreligious in there.
Okay.
So I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I know you're going to be interested in this next one.
Yeah, even though I have all these, they were hard to find.
Mastodon is re-releasing all their reprise titles on vinyl in the next few months. And you already have them.
I do. The only one I don't have is Call of the Mastodon, and that's some of their early stuff.
Right.
Do you have, I know you're not the biggest Mastodon person.
I like their earlier stuff better. I do have a couple of the earlier ones, but there's probably one or two that I don't.
Leviathan, Crack the Sky, Blood Mountain.
I have... See, Leviathan's the one with the whale on the front.
Yep.
I have that. I have Blood Mountain. I have Crack the Sky.
What's the one before Leviathan?
I don't remember.
With the horse on it. Yeah, that one, that's a fan favorite.
Yeah, so...
And somebody's screaming right now at their speakers because, we can't fucking pull it up. It's Remission.
Yeah, that's right. I had to be reminded about Remission.
But I don't mind reissues.
No, I might pick up one or two of them.
You can avoid paying crazy costs for first prints that, to me, don't make a bit of difference. Like I got my job for a Cowboy Sun Eater vinyl the other day, and it was 1 of 500. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference to me.
I just picked up the Tiamat Wild Honey reissue. It was like double white vinyl, and I paid like $30 for it. Prior to this release, if you wanted this album on vinyl, you had to pay like 300 euros, which is like, I don't know, friggin' at least $350.
Yeah.
So I was definitely happy to see that reissue. So there's a petition going around to have Odorous Urungus added to Mortal Kombat 10 as a character.
Yes.
I can't imagine that's going to happen, but wouldn't it be cool?
It would be badass. It's anything to immortalize him and the opportunity to play as him. That would be sweet.
That would be. I would almost want to get that.
Yeah, I've always loved the Mortal Kombat series. The last one before this was excellent.
I don't think I've played Mortal Kombat since like Sega in the 90s.
Could you picture an Odorous fatality where he like uses
the cuttlefish, bends him over and fucks somebody. He's, I fuck your skull.
Till his head explodes or something. Yes, that would be cool. An Odorous fatality.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah, that would be.
I'll sign up.
Yeah, definitely. There's also a story about an ex-Periphery fan who lit a Periphery hoodie on fire because of his distaste for the direction that the band has gone.
I think you would join him after when I asked you what you thought of the album.
Totally. I mean, I listened to a couple tracks off the new forthcoming double album, and I was just like, what is this shit?
This is what the kids listen to.
I called it, what did I call it? It was...
shit.
No, it was like the singer for Bowling for Soup doing emo metal. And it was like half Bowling for Soup, half Slipknot.
But how are these bands like these guys getting so popular?
I don't know. Well, I know I've listened to them in the past. And
they were not bad when they first debuted, from what I heard.
I remember that. I remember going, man, they're all right. It wasn't really my thing. It was a little more proggy, I thought. But when I heard this, I was like, oh, no, definitely not into this. So, I'm with that dude. It was kind of funny because one of Periphery's guitar players apparently saw the posting on Facebook and liked it and said, that's so sick, dude. At least he has
our stuff.
You got to respect their, sense of humor with the whole thing. So, and we heard that interview with the one guy on the Metal Sucks podcast, and sounds like a good guy. I'm not trying to knock him, but I really don't like their music.
No.
Did you see these latest pictures of Lemmy?
Yeah, not good. Scary.
Oh man, I get sad looking at that.
Scary, because it almost. You hear when somebody's seriously sick, what's one of the common symptoms? Weight loss.
Yeah.
Like that, like scary weight loss.
And he is really skinny.
He's not having like his stomach tied or something from being a fat guy.
Right. And he just looks old.
He does look rough.
I think he's 69, they said, which I thought...
In Lemmy years, that's like 300.
Yeah.
You know how dogs always say like 7 or 11 years older than humans? Lemmy's like all the stuff he's done in his life. Lemmy's like, for every year we live, 30 years for him.
Yeah.
And also, like I put on your Facebook the other day, I don't know what they call it, the Motorhead logo. What's
the War Pig?
Yeah, the War Pig. They're turning it into a statue.
Yeah.
That you can go online and buy now.
That was pretty awesome looking. I said I wanted to turn it into a mic stand so I could podcast with it.
Well, we're going to stop and take a break here so I can grab a beer, and I got a question to ask you that I was asked earlier in the week.
All right. The guy is sick, and he sounds like death, and he goes to grab another beer. I don't know how he does it.
I enjoy my days off.
I could not do that. As sick as I am, I could not be drinking right now. The only alcohol I'm taking in right now is copious amounts of NyQuil.
So, and good point. All these, I'm trying 2 different. Now I'm drinking a yard sale winter lager. Since I'm sick, it doesn't taste much different than the first kind.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a waste.
Oh, well, I'm off work. I enjoy it. Our mutual friend, Matt, asked me earlier in the week, he sent out these messages on Facebook to like this artist.
Okay.
Some guy he met, goes to these coffee houses and stuff and plays acoustic guitar and stuff. And I said, okay, thanks for sending it to me. I'm not going to like it because it's not what I listen to.
Right.
And he was going on and on about how good this guy is and this and that.
I saw that. He sent it to me too.
And I got in a little discussion back and forth with him about, hey, that's just not my stuff. And he said, well, Buke, you need to expand your horizons and listen to more stuff. And
well, you do.
Blah, 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 blah. I wanted to ask you, one, is it just me, or do you see a lot of metalheads not breaking out of heavy metal? Almost kind of like you don't break the oath.
Well, unfortunately.
And two, did you fall into this also? And as you got older, did you maybe see the error in your ways and say, hey, you know what, there is good stuff out there? Because I don't hate it just because it's not metal.
Right.
It's just not what I currently want to listen to.
Well, when I was in high school, it was death to false metal, kill the posers, nothing but fucking metal, okay? So this is like late 80s, like into like early 90s. And that was it. I hated everything that wasn't metal. For the most part. I mean, I actually dug like the Beatles and a couple of classic rock things. And I liked some like 70s rock stuff that wasn't technically metal. But for the most part, anything that was like 80s music, I hated 80s pop music. I was like, fuck you too, fuck INXS, fuck Madonna. I like all those things now. After I got out of high school, I realized how high school was. And I was like, just because I didn't like the people that listened to this music in high school doesn't mean that the music was bad. It just means I went to school with a bunch of dicks.
Okay.
And so, during the whole like grunge 90s thing, I did branch out. I listened to grunge music. I listened to blues music, and I listened to jazz music. I listened to classical music. And I just basically stopped giving a shit what anybody thought, In high school, it was like, well, if I listen to anything that's not metal, people are going to think I'm soft. They're going to think I'm weak. I'm a mamby-pamby boy.
I'm a man.
And I was like, no, must be hard like metal. But yeah, as soon as I actually grew up a little bit, I realized that, there is other good music out there. And I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like.
And, now that we're vinyl collectors, I'm going back and trying to get, I've looked at like Rolling Stone and all those other music magazines on what they say is the greatest albums of all time. I'm trying to go back and listen to these, and I cannot deny that there's not good stuff.
Dude, you like Steely Dan. I don't like Steely Dan. That is some bad shit.
I listened to that album the other day. It's not bad. But
there you go.
I will admit,
you're branching out.
I don't know if it's branching out, but I will admit it's a maybe childish, for lack of a better word, viewpoint to say that just because it's not metal,
yes, it is.
it's not good.
Yes. Most of the people I knew that were into metal back in the day are no longer into metal.
Really?
They evolved out of metal altogether.
Do you think that listening to other stuff that still keeps you grounded in metal? Because where it's not metal 24/7, you're not getting burnt out with it like you have?
No, I mean, I would say 95% of what I listen to is metal. I have had periods where I listen to more punk music or more blues music or whatever. I like singer-songwriters, but honestly, these days, all I really listen to for the most part is metal. But that's how, I can go and watch American Idol with my wife. And while I actually don't like most of the popular music of today, there's some good singers on there, just from a can they sing standpoint. Are they doing stupid songs? Some of them do some pretty fucking stupid songs. They do like Ariana Grande or whatever fucking coffee drink person. Or there's another one that's really awful. But then there's people that do some just rock songs and they do them quite well. And I'm like, you're not metal, but I might buy your album. And, I think it's freeing to just listen to whatever you want and not be stuck in a box saying, well, this is all I can listen to because I can only listen to metal. Metal's supposed to be about being free, not limited.
And what's also, spun me into, when we were at the show last week, we saw one of the employees of one of our local record shops, and I've talked with her about this before. Why is it that metalheads, might not branch out into other genres, but their way of being different is to try and be more fucking obscure than the next guy next to them? Is that the same, maybe hardness factor that they're trying to look for?
Yeah, everybody wants to be like, oh, well, yeah, you like Metallica. That's so 20 years ago. I listened to the latest Russian funeral death
from
doom
Siberia
band
on the way to get to their studios in a fucking on a snowcat.
Yeah, that's just a one-upmanship that doesn't belong.
Does that happen in other music? Do you think?
I don't think so. I think we're the only ones dumb enough to do that. I mean, punk, punk is like, you're not punk, or I'm more punk than you. And I don't know, I would expect probably like rap, like gangster rap type stuff.
Probably.
I'm more hard than you. I don't know. I don't want to know if you're hard.
Yeah, not for us. Okay, so some new releases?
Yeah, there aren't too many of them this week that I felt I needed to talk about. One of them is the new album Ageless by Call of the Void.
I listened to these guys. It's not my style at all.
It's kind of borderline for me. I mean, it's like kind of sludgy, screechy.
Almost screamo
death,
or something.
Yeah. And so, I'm on the fence about them. Their last album wasn't too bad, but I haven't listened to this one yet. And the next one, I know you're not into this one either.
No.
This is the Exhumed Gore Metal Redux, a Necrospective reissue.
They got some shit about this.
Did they? I haven't really heard anything about it.
It's like they said at the concert.
Oh, right. What was that they were saying? Yeah. That
they know the fans don't like when bands go back and re-record their early stuff, with better playing, better recording quality, and that type of stuff.
So they were probably trying to get the rights to it and couldn't get the rights to it, so they re-recorded it themselves.
Probably.
So it's about money.
Yeah. But if you like early brutal Exhumed, where you can't make out anything.
Yeah, it might sound better now.
You're still not going to be able to understand what they're saying.
Next up is a band that, I don't know if I can pronounce this. I was going to look it up and I didn't, so I'm just going to wing it. I liked their last album. The band is called Lycaon, Lykaion. And the album's called Heavy Lullabies. The last album was very sentenced-like.
Very.
And so I really kind of dug it. This one is a little more commercial sounding, not quite as sentenced. Still not bad.
Almost like a Poison Black.
Yeah, maybe more like a Poison Black. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
Almost kind of like a Brainstorm kind of sound to it a little bit.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Next up, black metal legends Marduk and their latest album, Front Schwein.
That was good. This is, when you said Buke a couple weeks ago, you said Buke, this is modern black metal.
Yeah.
This is not bad. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what you're getting with it.
Oh, of course.
These guys are not going to fucking break trend and do something. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But it's not like their earlier stuff I had heard.
Right. Yeah, I like the Fuck Me Jesus era.
Yeah. So if you like, modern traditional black metal, that's what this album is.
Hell yeah. My favorite release this week
This album, yes.
is the latest album from Thulkandra called Ascension Lost. I don't know if you know this, Buke, but the singer for Thulkandra is also the dude from Obscura.
Really?
Yes. That's how I heard about these guys when their last album came out. And I was like, oh, Obscura, okay. I'll check this out. I got the promo for their last album, and I was like, whoa. It's like Dissection.
And that's exactly what I like.
It's like melodic black metal.
Yes.
It's just fucking,
Yes.
it's raw, and it's just awesome.
See, let me just, if people listening, now 22 episodes in, if you guys haven't understood me by now, and you probably can understand our personalities, my metal, my death metal, black metal, whatever I listen to, call me a pussy. I love the harsh vocals, but I also like the melody and some enunciation with it. And that's what you get with this, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Just like you said, Dissection is a perfect description of this.
Yeah, I mean, this is like dissection worship. Mm-hmm. You say dissection, I say dissection. Dissection? Dissection.
Is this on vinyl?
I don't know. I don't. If it was, I would have pre-ordered it by now.
Of course. Of course.
Speaking of which, I pre-ordered that Sleep Holy Mountain reissue.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Only $19.99.
Wow.
Yeah. Try getting that on eBay for that much once it comes out.
I put on Dope Smoker sometime over the summer when I got it. That just goes and goes.
It does.
It just goes.
This one's actually got like 6 or 7 or 8 tracks. So
Yeah.
real songs.
In fact, Matt was over, a call back to earlier, Matt was over at my house and I put that on and he goes, Buke, you're going to have to turn this off. I can't take, the same couple notes over and over and over again. You got to turn this off. It's a classic. People love it though.
Oh, yeah. Dope Smoker. Try it out. All right, moving right along. Let's get into our band of the week. Last week, the band that I said I was listening to was Dethlehem from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, I got a hold of these guys and said, hey, can we play some of your music? And they said, sure. So we're going to be doing that for you today. But before we get into that, make sure you check them out on Bandcamp. You can pick up the new album. It's called Destroyers of the Realm. You can pay what you like for it. You think it's awesome, you want to pay $15 for it? You can do that. You want to pay $1 because you're just a cheap bastard? You can do that too. You can put in $0 if you're really fucking cheap and just check it out. The point is, go get the album. I think you will be pleased. You should also check out their new video for the track Mystic Island. It's pretty damn funny. While you're at it, you should check out the video for their other song, Oathbound, too. That one's pretty amusing as well. These guys are pretty interesting.
Yes. Entertaining.
Entertaining, that's a good way of putting it. As I mentioned last time, I said they sound like a cross between Gwar and Blind Guardian. If Odorous had used the cuttlefish on Blind Guardian, this would be the product of that union.
Yeah, again, there's musical tracks where they take a breakaway to like do some D&D-esque storytelling and
interludes.
Stuff. Yeah, interludes, exactly.
Yeah, and so to give you a taste of what this album's like, we're going to be playing you 2 songs, but before the first song, I'm going to play you an interlude. So let's get into that now. First, we're going to hear Interlude 2, Curse of Goblin Town, and then that's going to go right into a song called Final Voyage of the Goblinout.
Finding the Guardian Shield and defeating the Earthforger was no easy task, but the warriors of Dethlehem don't play on easy difficulty, they play on hard. Goblin Town sits on the shore of the vast Sea of 100 Sunken Ships. Brutalitus the Bloodbeard makes the obvious suggestion that the Guardian Shield is leading them through Goblin Town and across the Deadly Sea.
My old friend Dread Goblin Roberts will no doubt have a vessel for us to travel the sea. He owes me one for that time I saved his ass from that level 7 rape troll.
Our heroes find the Dread Goblin Roberts at the local goblin pub.
Hi! Brutalitas! A beautiful goblin beehole would be like Beholder Blood Sausage if he hadn't bitch blasted that burly bastard in his blue balls!
Ah, yes! I really beat his dick off for you. Anyways, it's good to see you again, Roberts. But you look like shit!
Ever since that beast nightmare reclaimed his tower on the Mystic Island, the seas have been plagued with an evil Leviathan. I put up a good fight, but alas, the bastard reclaimed most of my crew and ships.
Goblin Roberts, we are needing a ship to reach the Mystic Island. Can you take us there?
I have but one ship left, mates. The Goblinout. I'll strike you an accord. If you agree to help me defeat the Leviathan, I shall sail you to the Mystic Island.
Let's go!
And with that, the warriors embarked on what was to become the final voyage of the Goblinout.
Alrighty, that was Dethlehem. Pretty badass, eh? Make sure to stick around to the end of the episode and we will play you another song from Dethlehem off their latest album, Destroyers of the Realm. Alright, Will, why don't we get into our top 3? I asked Buke last night, what should we do for a top 3? He came back at me with Manowar. I was like, I felt like we'd done that before, but I went and looked back through the episodes and I didn't see it anywhere, so
If we did it before,
hopefully we choose the same ones.
if we don't, then hey, we went back and thought about it in the last couple months, and we updated it.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we didn't. I think we just probably talked about them before.
If there's ever a top 3 that we did that I think we're going to match up 1, 2, 3, this was it. Until my number 1.
Oh, see, I know we're not going to match up because I know an album that you're going to put on there, and I'm going to disown you for it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's probably my number 1.
Probably. Because anything after like 1988 isn't going to be on this list.
Okay, my whole list is shot then. Okay, number 1. You want to guess what number 3 is?
Number 3.
Louder Than Hell.
Okay.
Okay, dude, the definition of Manowar songs, brotherhood, that fighting spirit, that will to carry on.
Sure.
Comes through more than anything on this album. Some of their best songs are Courage,
Yeah.
Number 1, King.
They're good songs, and it's a good album. I'm not knocking that it's a good album. It's just not top 3.
Number 2, this has to be on your list. I mean, maybe your number 1, Sign of the Hammer.
It is on my list.
I listened to this on vinyl again the other day, and I'm not going to take your thunder, but it's an amazing album. Pretty much start to finish, every single song on there is great.
Yeah.
And since I only really got into metal in 2000, 99, 2000, my first introduction to Manowar, after George had handed me all these CDs and said, hey, check these out, was 2002. Seems like it was 2001. I know you're shaking your head. But one of my top 3 metal songs ever, Swords in the Wind, is off of Manowar's Warriors of the World. And I know to a lot of people this is a cheesy album. I
like that song too, and there are some songs on there I like, but again, not top 3. But I mean, I'm not knocking your choices.
I know you're not.
You came into Manowar in a later era.
I did.
And so that makes sense.
And we saw Manowar, 2004, 2005 maybe?
Something like that,
yeah. But that's
the last time we saw them. It's
Yep.
like been 10 years.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't think they've been around since.
I'm sure they have.
I don't think so. Because we would have been. Or at least offered to go.
Well, all right. Well.
So, do your list now, I ask you.
All right. My number 3, Sign of the Hammer.
Oh, man, I thought that was your number 1.
No, it was really fighting for number 2.
Okay.
Some of my favorite songs are on here. I mean, Mountains, Thor, the Powerhead, Sign of the Hammer, The Oath, All Men Play on 10. I love all these songs. And
give a little background. You and Manowar, for the longest time, Manowar was your band.
Yeah, for quite a while. But at some point, probably after Warriors of the World, they really
I tapped out for that.
Yeah, I liked what they did up until that point. After that, I just kind of was like, oh, this album sounds kind of the same-ish. Not really, interesting. So I just sort of lost interest after that. But
all those songs have like that words of the world, like we're warriors of the world. Like that one song where it's like, I quit my job today.
Yeah,
it's like the same.
It's just recycled.
Yes, recycled.
It is, and it's unfortunate. Like I already have these songs. I bought them 3 albums ago. But anyway, my number 2, Hail to England.
Probably my least listened Manowar album.
Every song on here. Another one of. See, I don't have a top 3. I have 3 runner-up number 1s. All of these albums are my favorite Manowar albums. Blood of My Enemies is just fucking righteous. That is just.
I love seeing the excitement.
Each Dawn I Die. Hello, Kill with Power.
Okay.
Cheesy title, good song. The title track, Hail to England, fucking brilliant. Army of Immortals, one of the first songs to talk about how awesome their fans are. One of the only ones I still like. Black Arrows, instrumental piece, Bridge of Death, classic. Can't go wrong. Number 1, Where's he going? Is he
The first one?
Is he going
Battle Hymns?
Is he going Battle Hymns? I don't know. Kings of Metal? I mean, a lot of people like Kings of Metal. No.
No,
Fuck off.
You're wrong.
Fighting the World.
Oh, yes.
Fighting the World was my first Manowar album. I heard them on Metal Shop. They played like Blow Your Speakers, I think it was. And I was like, what is that? And I got the cassette and I fucking loved it. I mean, this album has my all-time number one Manowar song, Black Wind, Fire and Steel. That song just cha-ching, nips hard, goosebumps, tears in my eyes, you know.
Still the only band today that I can put on and the fist instantly raises and you're just pounding your fist along to it.
Yeah, and, you know, okay, Black Wind, Fire and Steel, number one Manowar song of all time. Defender, you know, or as I like to call it, Dark Avenger Part 2. You know, a classic song. You gotta love that song. Holy War, Fighting the World, Carry On, Violence and Bloodshed. I mean, this album's just so awesome. So, yes, that is my number one, Fighting the World. Did it live up to your expectations?
It did. It did. Now, did you know, Manowar, ever since, you know, their first promo pictures with the loincloths and stuff, has, maybe righteously so, had a load of crap.
Oh, yeah, they get a lot of crap for that.
They do. Did you ever get any crap for being a Manowar fan?
Because of that? Oh, yes.
Really?
People will be like, hey, you like guys in loincloths. I'm like, that beats the stupid motherfuckers that dress up that you listen to in their fucking stupid-ass clothes. I'd rather wear a loincloth than, you know, some sort of latest fashion. If I could rock a loincloth, I would. But I'm not Manowar. I'm not Ted Nugent. I can't pull it off.
You're wearing one right now. That's why you're sick, because you're so damn breezy all the time. But you know, you say Manowar changed from the 80s to the 90s, of course, to where they're at right now. What do you attribute that to?
Well, one of the things is that after Kings of Metal, Ross the Boss left the band.
Sounds like that's the name of a guy who like only has like films porn with like 6 girls at a time.
Yeah.
Ross the Boss just slays them all.
Yeah, so after Ross the Boss left the band, the sound just kind of changed. You know, they got David Shankle on there for Triumph of Steel. And then by the time Louder Than Hell came out, which seemed like an eternity, we had Carl Logan. And Carl Logan's cool, you know. He kind of brings his own sound to the band. Seems like a cool guy. But, you know, it's, you know, band members change and so does the sound.
Did you think, was there any question if Warriors of the World would ever come out? Because that was like, what, 96 to 2002 or so?
Yeah, no, it was just, I mean, by that point, it was like, well, maybe they're just gone.
Yeah.
You know, late in the mid-late 90s, a lot of bands were gone by then. And so it was just whatever. I mean, we thought nothing was ever going to come out again after Kings of Metal. Seemed like a long time. In retrospect, now that I'm older and time passes differently, it might not have been that long, but it felt.
Now, Gone Again, you mean just move to Germany and continue to play big?
Well, you know, back then we didn't have the internet, so we had no idea what was going on with the band.
Yeah.
It was like, are they broken up? We don't know. That was the biggest problem we had was like, we don't know. Are they around or are they not? We don't know.
How's it going to hit you when one of those guys pass? I know one of the guys.
Well, Scott Columbus already did, and that hurt like a mother. So, yeah, if like Joey or Eric were to go, I don't even know.
Man, we may have to take a couple weeks off the pod.
Yeah. Either that or just like the Manowar special.
Yes. Where we have music beds of Manowar.
Yeah. So I want to jump over a few things and go straight to our classic for this week.
Yes.
Reason being, and I'm going to go ahead and do mine first. Battle Hymns by Manowar is my classic for this week.
Yes. I like it.
I was like, I didn't want to be lame and like add a fourth. I was like, you know, we're going to take Battle Hymns and give it its own separate piece. Came out in 1982. It's older than dirt. And I'm referencing the original version, not the re-recorded bullshit.
If you go to the store and buy it right now, you're buying the remastered?
Well, I mean, you can tell by looking at the cover. So I haven't been to a store to buy music other than vinyl in quite a long time. So I don't know what you'd actually find there. But Battle Hymns, being their first album, being that it came out in 1982, for the most part, it had a drastically different sound. It was almost still 70s kind of. Songs like Death Tone and Metal Days and Fast Taker and Shell Shock, pretty much the first side of the album. Not as metal. I mean, it's metal, but it's not as ferociously metal as later material. It had a... I don't know, maybe it's the production. Maybe that's why they re-recorded it. But I liked that sound. But it just sounded older.
What was their breakout?
Song? Album? What?
The song. Do you remember?
Well, I don't know. I didn't know them before.
Okay.
Before Fighting the World. But Battle Hymns, the second side. First of all,
This is where the magic happens.
this is where the magic happens for me. I like the first side. But the second side, side B, track 1, Manowar. It's the song they open every show with, and it's sweet, headlights on, gets goosebumps, makes me tear up a little bit. Love that song.
Yep, that was awesome.
And then the first song to feature Orson Welles before Defender
Okay.
was Dark Avenger. Same kind of, theme as Defender. There's an intro story spoken by Orson Welles. And then they launch into this ferocious metal song. William's Tale, an instrumental version of the William Tell Overture on bass, Mr. Joey DeMaio. And then the album closer, the title track, Battle Hymn. That song, oh my God, that gives me goosebumps. That song is the epitome of epic.
Yes. And I will admit, I have not listened to the album enough. But because you said that, I'm going to listen to it again.
Excellent.
It's worth definitely checking out. I know, all the fans and ladies love him. Does Joey rank on the list of greatest bass players in metal?
It's a good
He's
question.
flamboyant.
And he certainly is capable. His fingers fly across that fretboard. But I bet you on any list of greatest bass players in metal, he wouldn't make it. He might make my list, but he probably doesn't get the respect he deserves there.
Is that again partly because of Manowar?
Yeah, probably because people think Manowar's cheesy.
Yeah, must be a hard place because you and I have been to hundreds of shows. This is the honest truth. Aside from the occasional shirt I wear, do you see people wearing Manowar? No.
Occasionally.
I can't remember the last time I saw somebody wearing Manowar. And I think that cheesiness hangs with them.
Sure.
Even people who aren't metalheads, they use that image on like Reddit memes and stuff like that. Hey, Manowar.
Yeah, well, fuck them.
Yeah.
Manowar kills.
My classic is actually when we saw Exhumed last weekend, I started going back to try and find, because they were talking to you. You said they were one of the early grindcore bands with the gore, the heavier death metal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go back and try and find the earlier death metal albums, 90s material that was more akin to my liking, where you could understand what the people were saying a little bit more, but still heavy. Almost like modern technical death metal is now. Mm-hmm. A lot of modern technical death metal, I love it.
Death.
Yeah, exactly. This band, in doing a lot of research and listening to them pretty much almost exclusively for the past week, the consensus is they're generally overlooked, surprisingly, from a lot of people. This is the band in their 1998 release. This is the band Rune Magic.
Okay.
And their band, the Supreme Force of Eternity.
Okay.
Came out in 98, but they had released an album in 92 and put out some bootlegs and stuff that the fans had put out. But for the time, to try and put it with something now, it's classic heavy technical death metal. Yeah. It's awesome.
Right on.
It's awesome. Have you heard of these guys?
I have heard of them. I didn't think they were technical death metal, though, so it's obviously been a while since I've heard them.
Yeah, check them out, please.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
The Supreme Force of Eternity is this one.
Right on.
They may have evolved into that later as the years went on, because they are still active recently.
Okay.
But this is what they found was then. It's funny how our styles really do come through with what we listen to every week.
Yeah. FYI, things aren't classic until they're 20 years old.
I know. I know. But I wanted to try and piggyback off the Exhumed thing.
Yeah.
Because we're a couple years away from that now.
Okay.
So.
All right. So what are you listening to this week?
I found these guys also, when I knew we were doing Manowar, I wanted something epic, and we all know I love power metal, and I went with one of the power metal bands I have been listening to recently. And, sticking with the whole cheesiness factor of it, this is the 2005 release from the band Iron Mask.
Okay.
and the album Hordes of the Brave. This is power metal, but this is power metal with a guitarist who has licks that'll melt your fucking face off. I recommend you check out the first track, Holy War. And again, this is modern power metal with that added layer of, crazy guitar work.
Right on.
Have you heard these guys?
Yeah, I've heard of them. All right. Well, by now, Will's got to be going, I thought you were going to talk about Yesterday's Saints. Well, as it happens, before he even asked us to talk about them, they were my band for what I'm listening to this week.
Wow.
Their album, Generation of Vipers, their first album, came out this week. I saw it among the list of new releases, and I said, what's this? And it's funny because I thought it was the band Generation of Vipers, which is a completely different band. And I was like, no, it's okay, I don't need that. But then I was like, wait, Yesterday's Saints is the name of the band. I don't know them. So I gave it a listen, and I was like, damn, this is pretty good stuff. What would you call their style? When I mentioned it to you, I was like, some of the vocals are kind of death metal, but some of it sounds kind of like Nevermore. It's a really cool combination of like heavier and not quite as heavy styles.
It has harsher vocals than Nevermore does, but they go into the clean vocals.
The clean vocals at times, it was kind of like Nevermore, kind of like Queensryche. I was like, interesting.
But when Will came out here and, a month ago or two and said, hey, you guys, what local DC bands you listen to? We're like, nothing really.
Yeah.
Surprised we haven't heard these guys now because they're awesome.
Yeah, they're right in our backyard in DC.
And the drummer is former drummer of Pentagram.
I looked that up. He played on one of the live albums.
Yeah.
Well, as it happens, I spoke to singer Matt earlier today, and they are going to be our Band of the Week next episode. And we're going to have somebody from the band either on a call or in the studio with us. They're going to see what they can put together.
Badass.
So
bring them in.
Yeah, you can check out Yesterday's Saints. They're on Spotify, right?
Yes, they are.
You can check them out on Spotify if you want to give them a listen. They're on Bandcamp. You can pick up the album there, Generation of Vipers. You can also get their 2011 demo there. It's a self-titled demo. Also good. I recommend it. So check these guys out and come back next time when we will have some music from them and hopefully somebody from the band that we're going to talk to. Surprise!
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I kept that one in my pocket until just now. I didn't tell them about it.
Man, now we really got to be like, man, we're sorry. Yeah, we've been in DC music scene for years.
Yeah, we just won't tell them that. Hopefully they won't listen to this episode.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. In fact, he said that their bass player is a home brewer. And so if we get him, maybe we can talk some beer. Maybe
let's go with that.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, hey, we had Will on here a couple episodes ago. He brought us beer. So, if you want to, we can make a
and Will brought some rare beer. So that's a pretty high,
a benchmark.
Yeah.
But either way, whether they come in, whether they call in, whether they bring beer or we just have beer on hand, sounds like it'll be a good time.
And I wanted to say also, stay tuned to the end of this episode. I'm going to be talking to Shawn Roarke of NHL.com. You might remember earlier in last year when we talked to Brian Slagle of Metal Blade, he does a podcast called Metal Misconduct. And his partner on that show is Shawn. And Shawn's agreed to come on to me to talk metal.
He's going to come on to you?
I did say that. Shawn has agreed to
Is he going to bat his eyes at you and be like, hey, sexy man?
Shawn has agreed to come on and talk to me about metal, about some hockey, and as teams are approaching the trade deadline. So if you like metal, but you don't like hockey, maybe tap out after midway through the interview.
All right, well we'll tag that on the end of this episode for you to check that out. Here we are at the end of the episode, but before we go, we'd like you to know that you can check us out on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter. I'm Disciple OV Metal.
I'm at Opeth Fan.
You can get a hold of either of us at Metalheads Pod. We're on Stitcher. Check out the website, wearemetalheads.com. And if you go on iTunes, just, leave us a comment. We've gotten a few nice comments on there. We'd like to see more. Remember the thing about me needing validation from the fans.
Please.
I want to try that drug. So please leave us some comments or shoot us an email. Good stuff, bad stuff, whatever you want to say. Just
let us know you're out there.
Yeah.
we would do this show if one person listened, but just let us know you're out there. Hell, even if you say, "Hey, George, I'm listening to this." Okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about.
If you want me to be like, "Hey, George, why don't my rutabagas grow properly?" I can look that up for you.
Yeah, we can look it up and we'll get back to you next week.
Exactly.
And who knows? Maybe our friend joining us from
Yesterday's
Saints will, maybe he's a gardener.
You never know. I hesitate to consider what he might be growing. All right, we are out of here. But before we go, we're going to play you another song from the band Dethlehem. Make sure to check these guys out. Like I said, check them out on Bandcamp. You can pay whatever you want for the album, but be nice if you throw them a couple bucks. Here we go with the song Shadow Remnants of the Guardian Shield. See ya.
Peace.
Hey everyone, this is George again. I'm getting ready to play you that interview that Buke did with Shawn Roarke of NHL.com. Before we get into that, I just wanted to reiterate what Buke mentioned earlier, which is, while Shawn is a metalhead, he and Buke really kind of veer off for like an hour of straight hockey talk, which for hockey fans like us, that's cool. But I just wanted to let you know that it's like an hour and a half interview. About an hour of it is straight hockey talk. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, if you're not a hockey fan, then just wanted to give you a heads up. But it's a pretty interesting interview, so stick around, check it out. Here you go.
Okay, this is Buke from the Metalheads podcast, and I'm joined here with Shawn Roarke of NHL.com. What's going on today, brother?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for joining me on Grammy Sunday.
They're going crazy on the Grammys here.
Exactly. I brought you on to discuss who do we have as our album of the year and our pop song. Gag me now.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Madonna for a couple hours or what?
Yeah, come on, brother. I don't know about you, but I don't know what the hell is going on in the pop world now.
I'll tell you a good metal Madonna story. You want to hear a good metal Madonna story?
Lay it on me, brother.
So I met Monty Pittman. I don't know if you know who Monty is. He used to play for Prong a little bit.
Yep.
And he's going to be playing for Ministry on their tour. They're going to Australia.
Okay.
Guitar lessons.
Yes.
And he taught Madonna how to play that Pantera song that she played live on stage once. And she wanted to keep taking lessons. So she said, why don't you be my guitarist? So Monty Pittman, who is one of my favorite metal guitarists, plays guitar for her whenever she goes on tour now. I did not see the Grammys tonight. I don't know if he was up there with her tonight, but there's your metal Madonna link.
God, how crazy is that? And because she's bigger than any of our artists we listen to, that'll probably draw some viewers our way. But for those who are just joining us now and listening to this podcast later, earlier, a couple months back, Shawn, we spoke to your partner, Brian Slagle. And at that time, he told us that he does a little radio show with you called Metal Misconduct. You want to talk a little bit about that and how you got hooked up with him?
Sure. So we've been doing Metal Misconduct. I think this is our fourth year now. It's a once a month podcast. We do it the first Saturday of every month at 10 o'clock Eastern on Hard Radio, and then it's on demand on iTunes. And the reason Brian and I got hooked up was many moons ago, right around the Vancouver Olympics. I had a friend I worked with. I work at the NHL. I work for their website and I had a friend who worked there who had been involved in minor league hockey and had met Brian through that. Brian's a huge hockey fan. And he said, you should meet my friend Brian. I know what kind of music you listen to, and Brian's big in the metal world. And, right away I was like, he works for Metal Blade Records, and I had grown up on old school Metal Blade Records, the Mentors and things like that. And I was like, I'd love to meet Brian. And we sat down and we talked, and we started to form a friendship and a relationship. And I said to him one day, I said, we have very similar tastes. You're very passionate about music, but almost seem more passionate about your hobby, which is hockey. And I know a lot about hockey, and I seem to be more passionate about music. We should kind of bring those two worlds together and do a podcast where music and sports meet. Mm-hmm. And mainly hockey, like I said, because Brian's a huge hockey fan. And then that's what we did. We called it Metal Misconduct, and we were off and running. If memory serves me right, the first guest we ever had was Drew Stafford of the Buffalo Sabres, who's a huge, huge metalhead. And I was out in Brian's in L.A., and I'm in New York, and I had gone out there to talk about it. And we called Drew from out there, and he just blew us away with how much stuff he knew. And we've been off and running then. I think we've talked to almost every metalhead in hockey circles.
That's awesome.
And we've expanded to some comedy. We've expanded to we do some music guys talking about sports. And, and then we've gone on to other things. We've had Randy Johnson on. There's so many cool people. It's been such a great, great opportunity.
And the fans have been jumping on, loving it, right?
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. I mean, because it's such a cliche, but it's so true. Like, the two things I wanted to do when I grew up was be a professional athlete and be a rock star.
Yeah.
And when you talk to the athletes, like Drew Stafford's like, I have no problem playing in front of 20,000 people. I couldn't imagine doing what musicians do, where they stand in front of 500 people in a club and play. And then, you talk to a guy like, I'm pretty good friends with Matt DeFries, who's played bass for Unearthed and was in Chimera originally as a rhythm guitarist. And he's like, playing music's no problem. He's good friends with Drew. He's like, I can't imagine what, Drew does on an every other night basis. So, I think everybody has those two dreams in them. And even when you reach one, sometimes you want the other one even more.
Yeah, but now it's funny you say that. I also wanted you on here because aside from the Metalheads podcast that I do a website called Talk to Red where we focus on Washington Capitals. I have had a chance to talk to many Capitals on the side, and my favorite band's Opeth. Everybody knows that who listens to our podcast. And I guess the metal fan in me, I've had Marcus Johansson, I've pulled him aside, and Nick Backstrom. One of the first things I ask him is, hey, have you heard of Opeth? I guess maybe the stupid guy in me thinks, hey, small country, maybe they've heard of Opeth. They look at me like I have the Black Death, and they quickly make an exit. But I'm still trying to find out that fan. But I know you've had him on the show many times. You have spoke with Dan Boyle. I remember watching an NHL.com interview with him, and they were talking about him and the music he controls in the locker room. And he came right out and said, yeah, Lamb of God and all these other metal bands, I've instantly been a fan of him ever since.
Yeah, we had him on when he was still in San Jose. He used to have a radio show that he did. It was like a classic heavy metal rock show. And he had given that up. But he's a huge Metal Blade fan. He's always in the locker room wearing Metal Blade T-shirts and stuff like that. So we had him on. And his big band is Faith No More. He loves Faith No More.
And they're coming back.
And they are coming back. But, he likes a lot of stuff that goes off of that. And a really cool guy and really interesting. We've had on, I'm trying to think of who else from the hockey world. I know I'm really excited. Hopefully this month we're going to have on Yanni Nienema. I don't know if you're Yanni played in Edmonton, was an all-star 1 year in Edmonton, and played a couple other places. Played on the island for a year, I think, and then he went back to Finland. He's been back there playing. Now he's retired. He's back in the States. He's playing in the world's longest hockey game, which is going on right now in Edmonton. It's a 10-day straight hockey game.
I saw you tweeting about that. Is it the same guys that just keep doing line changes? Yeah,
it's 40 guys, and they play, I think it's 4-hour shifts. And then the guy who's doing it, he's the eye doctor for the Oilers. He has like a big rural place somewhere in Alberta outside of Edmonton, and he built, you got to see the pictures, man. He built like this huge rink in his backyard, and he built this huge facility that goes along with it because in order to set the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest game where the game is being played.
Wow.
So for 10 days they have to stay there. So in order to make it easier, he built like this bunkhouse with like showers and massage tables and beds and TVs and the whole thing. So guys could stay there, do a little bit of work, get a little bit of sleep, and then they play. I think it's 4 or 6 hour shifts. And the kicker is, like, that wouldn't be hard enough for me. It's like minus 20 there right now.
That's insane.
So, God bless those guys. They're raising money for cancer research and to get something for one of the Edmonton hospitals up there, some sort of machine for that. And so Yanni, who's played in the NHL, he came back and he told those guys, he said, this is going to be one of the greatest games I've ever played in. And we're hoping to get him before he comes back because that dude is a serious, serious metalhead. When he made, I remember when he made the All-Star team, I was covering that All-Star game. And, he was a younger guy and he went in the room and he put in like, it might have even been mixtapes then, or he might have had like a CD with all his favorites on it. And he went into the stereo and he put it on. And, he's in there with a bunch of superstars. And immediately somebody like hit eject and like, what are you doing? And like, threw it back at him. And so he was telling the Edmonton guys, and they were like, well, who was on the tape? And he's like, well, it was like Cradle of Filth. It was like Mayhem. It was this band. It was that band. And, those guys are like, they had no idea what they're talking about. And like, I weaseled my way right to the front and I'm like, really? Which Cradle of Filth song was this one? And when he walked away, all the Edmonton guys came up to me and they're all like, you know what he's talking about? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can you spell this band? Because they were all going to put it in their story. They thought it was great, but nobody knew who any of those bands were.
Hey, So my partner I normally do this show with, he's older than me. I mentioned that because here I am at 32. George, my partner, has grew up in the metal scene from, he's seen Metallica in every decade. What was your first introduction to metal?
Okay, so, well, first of all, I'm ancient like George.
Hey, that's why I got you on, brother. You can add some real depth.
Yeah, no, I'm in that same wheelhouse, 46. And, obviously, like, my first couple of heavier albums, I remember, I got Kiss Love Gun at Christmas one year, and I got a couple of AC/DC albums. But the first album that I really found on my own off of that and really kind of sent me down the road that I've kind of traveled music-wise was Metal Heart by Accept.
Oh, wow.
Still one of my favorite albums ever.
Yeah.
And when I was, I was probably, I want to say I was 14. And then, like 2 years later, they came, and I grew up in Rhode Island, and almost every concert in Rhode Island was at the Providence Civic Center that I could go to as an underage kid. Then there was also Lupo's and JR's Fastlane, and you'd hear all these bands coming in that you couldn't go to. But there was an amusement park there that's been since closed. It's called Rocky Point.
Okay.
And Accept played there. And I went to see that show. It was I think it was the second show I had ever seen. I had seen Billy Squier in Nazareth was my first concert.
Wow.
Love Billy Squier. Great guitarist.
Yes.
I know he got killed in the MTV age because of what he tried to do with his videos, but that dude could play some guitar. And the concert was phenomenal. It was the Don't Say No tour. And but then, so I went to go see Accept. It was you paid to get into the park, and they played for free. And I saw Udo Dirkschneider. You've seen him. He's about 5'6", 5'7", in fatigues, big barrel chest, and he just destroyed the place.
I bet.
And that, and I was hooked after that. And then, it was Dio and Judas Priest together, and all these other bands. And then, as I got older and I was able to go to the clubs, I did a lot of that, and just kind of went from there.
Now, George will be the first to say he can't stand Accept vocal work. What do you think? Obviously, you're a fan, you said. What do you think about the changes they've had with vocals, with Mark now singing for him?
Look, Udo's so distinct, and it's like any of those great bands, like even like Black Sabbath went through all those changes vocally. Yep. And there's people that are like, oh, I can't listen to this era, I can't listen to that era. For me, Accept is more just the sound. It's that Teutonic metal. Like, you hear it now from other bands, and you're like, that's part of that whole tree. Like you talk about coaching trees and sports. There's that Teutonic metal tree, and to me, like, Accept's the root of it, and it's more to the sound. And nobody's going to approach Udo ever.
No,
but,
and you look at their last couple albums, Stalingrad and Blind Rage have had a lot of critical success in the metal world.
Yeah, no, and I love their last couple albums, and Udo's doing some stuff of his own, which I still like, and I'm not of those camps where you have to pick one or the other, because for me, Accept was a band first and foremost, and I, it was a band that I loved, and I think they've stayed true to their sound. Vocally, they've changed, because you have to, you can't replicate that sound, and I don't know that you would want to, but organically, they're very similar to the band that put out.
Great point.
Fast as a Shark and London Leather Boys and whatever else you want to talk. And then that whole Metal Heart album. For some reason, I dug it up the other day and I listened to it from front to back. Still a great album, man.
Metal Heart, Midnight Mover, Up to the Limit.
Too hard to get it right there.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know if you could see, but this ain't video for people listening. But I'm really recently getting into vinyl records over here, and I'm trying to go back and get all these classic metal vinyl albums to get. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is that I know you work for NHL, but as hockey fans and even as metal fans, it's that NFL is the big dogs. MLB is bigger than hockey, but the passionate hockey fans are diehard. the passionate metal fans are diehard. Is that something that attracted you to metal back in the 80s and so when you started listening to it?
Yeah, to a degree, but you know what? Like when I think back about it, and for me, that sweet spot would have been like 84. I was 16 to I went away to college, and I'm doing my math wrong. I went away to college in 86. Yeah, no, that's right. And so in that area, but metal was so much bigger. And maybe it was just, where I grew up in Rhode Island. I mean, it was such a big thing. Every show, like I said, at the Civic Center was sold out anytime anybody big came in. And the leather and the chains and everything else was in. And I went to an all-boys Catholic school for high school. So that wasn't really an option for me.
Yeah.
It was more straight-laced, no long hair, none of that. So it was a little bit of rebellion there. And, but now, like, it's not. Now it's in the fringes, and sure, that's an attraction. I mean, I think everything I like is a little bit that way, maybe because I'm not mainstream, and all the guys in my office are always giving me stick about the bands that I like. There's one guy in my office who actually keeps a list of all the bands I mention on Twitter or in the office, and I think he goes and looks them up later to make sure that they're really true, and I'm just not making them up. But and then hockey's that way. Again, where I grew up, it was the biggest thing in the world, right outside of Boston, and we had a great hockey team at my high school. And it was all I ever knew. We watched it all the time, and we played all the time. And then I moved to New Jersey when I was 21, and to work in the newspaper business, and there was no hockey to cover. I mean, the Devils were here, but there was no high school hockey, there was no college hockey, and I couldn't understand it. And my other passion is soccer, and in America, soccer is the same way. Like you're on the fringes, and to me, what's attractive about that is right away. Like, look, we've been talking for 10 minutes.
But it's an instant connection.
Because there's something there. We could talk about football, and I wouldn't know anything about you.
I'm the same way.
Because I can talk to anybody about football. But once you get past that superficial, hey, I like this and then I like that, there's almost these calling cards where you pass the test, and then you're like, all right, this dude, he's in the trenches with me. I'm sure he's seen something that I've seen, or he likes something that I like, and we have that common bond that we can work off. It doesn't always work. Sometimes, you go down that road and you talk to a guy for 20 minutes, wow, you like that, and then he says something completely stupid, and you're like, oh my God, this is toolbox. But it's that opening salvo where that you're going to be on the same wavelength.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that's what George and I talked about this past week on the podcast, is that I took my mom years back, about 6-7 years ago now, to a Bon Jovi show here in D.C., and it always stuck with me, one, because he put on a great show, because, nobody outside, even though it's an older crowd, nobody was wearing a band shirt. Nobody was really talking outside of the group they were with or the person that they came to the show with. And last weekend, George and I saw Napalm Death, Exhumed, Iron Reagan, Black Crown Initiate, Ringworm. And I mention that because consistently, no matter whatever show it is, Shawn, that you can see other guys wearing whatever shirt. And I might not have met you till that time, but instantly it's that instant brotherhood that, hey, this guy's wearing whatever. This guy's wearing a Dio shirt. There's that instant connection. That's that instant brotherhood that you see with metal.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I go, because I'm an older guy now, and like I said, there's not too many guys in my office, and I'm a transplant here, so I don't have a huge metal community here, so I go to a lot of shows by myself. In New York City or here, we got a club right near here in Sayreville that gets a lot of good shows, and I'll go to a ton of shows by myself, and people will be like, "How can you do that?" And I'll be like, "Dude, within 10 minthis." Like, I found somebody to talk to have a beer with, whatever. And I'll tell you a great shirt story. So there's this band I was at a Clutch show. Clutch is like one of my favorite bands, and
they've always been one of the bands that I've never given them their fair props, and I know that they're huge in the DC area here.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like that's where they're out of. You know, funny story. We were in DC for the outdoor game on New Year's Eve, right? And my son came down. My son's 10, and my wife and my daughter, they all came down. And my son went to the game and stuff. So they were there on New Year's Eve. And normally the league has a big party, and they did this year. And Billy Idol was there. And and I sent my wife to the party with her girlfriend who was watching my son at the game.
Okay.
But that same night, Clutch was playing at the 930 Club.
Yeah.
It was their hometown show, and I was like I tried everything I could think of. I'm like, how can I get to go to this show? Like, can I get my wife to come back at like 11:30? And maybe I could sneak out. It was no way. Like, and it broke my heart because I've seen them like I would say 8 times, all the way from that first album, which was so heavy. Like that was a mean, heavy album, and I was probably 23, 24 when it came out, and it dovetailed. It came out right around the same time as that first Korn album, and both of them out, and to their last tour, you know, and now they're much more bluesy. They're still heavy, but it's a different kind of. They're very musical now. There's a lot of stuff going on with it, but. So I'm at this Clutch show, and it was at Toad's Place in Connecticut, and I'm playing, and I'm sitting there, and I'm in a shirt, and I think I'm the only one that has the shirt on, and I'm trying to remember the name of the band now, but it was a long sleeve black shirt, and all of a sudden I look, and the guy next to me has the same exact shirt on.
And you know what? I wore an acid bath shirt to the barbecue a couple months back in August or so. I thought, I'm going to be the only one here wearing this acid bath when the kite string pops. So I'm around the corner, the guy's wearing the same freaking shirt.
And we just started talking, and it was awesome. Like, he was like, I can't believe you have this shirt on. And he's like, did you get it through the mail? And I'm like, no, I was there a couple of weeks ago. They played in New York City. They played in Brooklyn. And, he's like, get out of here. He goes, I don't think anybody had ever seen him. And it's really upsetting me that I can't think of the band now. I'm having one of those senior...
It's okay.
But it was unbelievable.
So, I want to put your, before we get much longer now, I want to put your Twitter out there. You are at SROARKE_NHL. Again, that's at SROAKE_NHL. Listeners, give Shawn a follow here and check him out. He's tweeting about this longest hockey game going on. He's always tweeting about hockey. He's always tweeting about metal. Shawn, George and I a couple weeks ago just did our best of year list from last year. Last year ended up coming on pretty strong. Was there anything that captured you last year that was your album of the year?
Oh,
sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's all right. I'm trying to think of what was last year.
Because George, his album, I don't know how heavy you really go. George's album was Triptychon. That was his number one. His number 2 album was Tombs. Machine Head came in at number 3. I went Primordial, Ghost Brigade, and then the Doom band YOB as my number 3.
Yeah, I really like that YOB album, and I've been into a lot more Doom lately.
So have I.
I really, really enjoy it. So first of all, so I don't have a total senior moment, it was Hammers of Misfortune.
Yes, okay.
That's the band that I had the shirt of. And they never come across to New York, and they played a show with Gates of Slumber in Brooklyn at St. Vitus, which is a cool little club, and I was able to see them there, and so there's that.
Please know that us fans are eternally jealous of you that you have that club close to you. Because the bands I see playing there all the time, it's like, oh, Opeth is playing there today. Oh, Revocation's playing tomorrow. Oh, Triptychon's playing the day after. You know, just the lineup is consistently out of the park.
The other album that I really liked, and I don't know how many people heard it last year. I don't know if it's my album of the year, but Brian has a band on his label called Kings of Asgard.
Yeah, dude, it was my number 20.
Yeah, that Karg album was really good. I don't know that it was as good as their first album.
Yes,
but it was fantastic.
So have you found over the years, Shawn, that your style has really changed? Because I'll admit, black metal for me, I've never been able to get into. The constant blast beats with the constant, scratchy vocals have never been something I've been able to get into. But modern black metal, I'm able to get into it a little more. Have your tastes in metal changed over the years?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think it's gotten a little more. Well, two things have happened. I've become a little more open in what I'll listen to. It's not as pigeonholed as it once was, and I really like the stoner, doomy, slow, drudgy stuff that I probably never could listen to before. Because look, let's be honest. I mean, part of the reason why anybody I think gets into metal is because of the inherent violence in it.
That's why I listen to it. That's right. The aggression, yes.
Yeah. So, you listen to it and you get all fired up. And look, when I was younger, I loved to go to a show and mosh and bang around. And, I would tell people that when I was done, like that was it. I was purged for a week. Whatever came along, I could just let go because, I got all my aggression out and I didn't have to get arrested to do it. So, for me, that was for the longest time. That's why I listened and the testosterone and everything else. And again, now that I'm an ancient old man, I can't really do that anymore. And so for me, it's more about the music and it's more about where I am in my life, and not that I'm a stoner by any.
But you just want that more chill.
Yeah, and so now, a lot of those bands are just, what I find myself drawn towards is there's a band called Pilgrim. They're out of Rhode Island. It's a 3-piece. Doom band, fantastic. I listen to a lot of Electric Wizard, a lot of stuff like that. Obviously, like Red Fang, and Fire, and bands like that. So I find myself listening to a lot more of that. The one thing that I still have a lot of trouble getting into is the proggy instrument stuff. But even when I was a kid, Yes and ELO and bands like that, they were never for me. Like, it was just there was a little too much going on. I'm a little more simplistic than that.
Yeah, you don't need a random guitar solo here and, odd stuff. But, it's funny, your partner, Brian Slagle with Metal Blade, I'm fascinated right now with, in the whole music scene, Shawn, it seems to see what was old is new again right now. Metal Blade has released Below, like Across the Dark River, was an amazing Doom album last year. That they wear the Candlemass, reference on their sleeve. Metal Blade just released the new Visigoth album, which is amazing already. So I think what's old is new again, and it's great.
Yeah, no, it's always going to be that way. And look, if I'm not mistaken, he put out the. That's how I got turned on to Hammers of Misfortune, and that's kind of older type of stuff. He's put out a ton of Doom lately, which is not really his thing, I guess it is, but that's not what he made his bones on. And he's kind of a chameleon when it comes to that kind of music. And I don't know if you've seen. He's got a band now, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's called Sister Ride or something like that. It's Henry Rollins' old band.
Okay.
His backing band, and Scott Ian's playing with them. And they're putting out an album, and that's like, you know, that the sound there is 15 years old. It's the old Mother Superior band. I don't know if you remember that. Like,
Yeah.
they would open, and then they would open as a band, and then they would be Rollins's backing band. And Henry Rollins is one of my favorite people ever. And I've seen him in concert a number of times, and I always loved that band. And Scott Ian did too, and he basically brought them together to play his birthday party, and they jammed, and they did so well together that they're putting out an album, and they're going out on tour. They're actually playing here next week, again at St. Vitus.
There you go again with another great lineup.
Yeah, so you know, he really is all over the place. And another old band he has Flotsam and Jetsam on.
We saw them last year. That was great.
Yeah. So but he's still got the really heavy. You know, he's got Whitechapel on his label. Really heavy bands. So he's kind of all over the place.
You know, the thing that was probably and you talk to him, of course, a lot more than we do. The thing that impressed me the most about talking to Brian is how in the metal world he's huge, but the fact that one, he took the time to talk to us, but the passion that he still exudes, like he's that guy you met at the metal show, was amazing to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you have to be that way. Look, you're not going to be in this business, and you're not going to be in the businesses we're in to make a lot of money and be famous. And look, I've done what I've done for 25 years now, and I couldn't ever imagine it. And it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of BS that goes with it. But there's a lot of great moments, and the only thing that keeps you. And there's a lot of people that I've done this with that have gone on, and they've gone on to do other things, and you know, they've pretty much reached the conclusion that, hey, this is a lot of fun, but it's not something I can do with the rest of my life because the rewards financially are not
worth it.
Are not good enough. And I haven't gotten there yet. And you know, that passion has to fuel you, and I think it does. You know, with anybody that's good in any business that they're in, you know, you can. It's the same thing with rock stars or hockey players. You know, you can be good at something. There's a lot of people in this world that have the temperament and the skill to be a rock star, and they just don't have the will.
Wow, that's very, very true. That's a great point.
And they don't have the staying power. I mean, how many times have you seen a guy, you know, at 20 years old, you go to a club and you're like, wow, this dude, he's going to be something. And then, you know, he falls off the face of the earth. He didn't have the stomach for it. You know, the riding in the vans and the, you know, all the crap that goes with that. Yeah. You know, this band Unearth I really like, and Ken Susi, who plays guitar for them, he's a huge hockey fan, and they were in New York like 2 years ago, and Matt, who I mentioned earlier, was playing bass for them. He was filling in, and so Matt had reached out to me. They were playing in New York City, and he's like, "Hey, we're in town," and I'm like, "Why don't you come by the office? I'll show you guys around, you know, whatever." And they came up, and I showed them around, and I had this print of Ray Bork, and never been a Ray Bork fan. I had gotten it from somewhere, and Ken's from Massachusetts. And I'm like, hey, why don't you take this? And he's like, you got to be kidding me, man. I'm like, no, take it. So we went down. We took the subway down, and we had this huge print of Ray Bork. And we got to the club, and he's like, hold on, I'm gonna put it away. And I expected him to go to like a tour bus and put it on a tour bus. And they were in a van. Like, this is a band that's been around.
Probably one of the biggest bands in metal now.
Yeah, and they've been around for 15 years, and they were doing, this was towards the end of their tour, and they had done the whole tour in a van, you know, with some beds in the back and whatever. And I was, and they're, you know, they're not young guys anymore. They're not old, but they've been at it for a while. And, you know, that's going to be hard. You know,
I can't imagine it.
And you're just like, you know, that's the passion that drives people. And it shows. When you see those guys play, it shows. Like, they're never going through the motions. It doesn't matter what's happened, or, you know, every time I've seen them play, that's the way it's been. And I think that's why bands do well, because they have that ability to kind of power through everything and realize that, that's what they're there for.
And it's funny you say that too. A lot of times it doesn't make a difference how big the band is, as long as you have access to like a merch table or something where it's at these clubs that we go to. These bands will talk to you for hours if they have the time. They never seem out of touch. And we're getting into you with your hockey link here, but it's the same thing works with hockey players. That so many hockey players with like open practices or after games are still so down to earth that they're still talk to you too. And that's what I've liked about being a metal fan and a hockey fan.
Yeah, no, and again, it's part of that cult, and I think, the people that are involved in it understand, even the people that have reached the pinnacle and are, players or musicians. I mean, there's nothing without that personal link. It's what keeps you coming back, and it's like you mentioned before, like you don't need that in football. Everybody's going to watch football every week because it doesn't matter.
Very true.
But what's interesting about that is when I was a kid, baseball was king. They're not anymore. They're 3, maybe. Boxing, huge.
Yeah, UFC. Yep.
Boxing's 10 now. Like they're a fringe sport, and so all these sports that people think are unassailable, you never know, man. Like the wrong thing happens, and down you go. I mean, for baseball, it was a bunch of work stoppages. It was the steroid era. It was just the being above everybody, like just thinking that your business was unassailable, that it was bulletproof. And there's very few things in this world that
are,
and neither of the things that we talk about, hockey or metal music, are bulletproof. You have to invest the time. You have to spread the message. And look, we're all in. I'm trying to think of the word that I want to say. We're all.
I think you know what it is. Not to take the words out of your mouth. I think us as metal fans, we're all in it together. Because I'm sure, I don't know if you and Brian have talked about this. You look at how many people download music and stuff like this. You look at how many people in modern music today pirate music. I've read facts repeatedly, and I've even seen Brian tweet this out, that metal fans consistently still go out and buy music. They're buying vinyl. They're buying physical CDs. They're going on iTunes and not buying one single. They're buying the whole album. Yeah, I think us in metal and in hockey, it's that unity.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's any niche music, I think, for the most part, because country's the same way. Like, I've heard a lot of people say that the country stars better numbers than anybody else because their followers will support it, and because it's important to them. And I think we're all in a place where we want to spread that message. What we love so much. There's a difference between being a casual fan of something and being a fanatic. And I think you can be a casual metal fan. I can't personally imagine it because it's so extreme and it's so hard to kind of be in that world, because you always get that funny look and you get the, really, you listen to that. What's wrong with you? Did you have a bad growing up? Your parents still together? What's going on? But it's, you're disciples and you're trying to spread the word to other people. And it's just, for me, it's the same thing. Like the reason that I've loved my job in hockey for so long is because I get to tell the stories about the things that make me so happy about the game and how important the game is to me. And that it's always been, for me, that's always been the link to my dad, and music will never be that because he's not very musical, and obviously he grew up in a different generation than I did, and he could never ever understand what I choose to listen to and why it's important to me. But since I've been 6 years old, that's been the conversation for me and my dad.
That's awesome.
It has been sports and specifically hockey and football. We had season tickets to the Patriots when I was a kid, and that was a really important time for us. But it's always been hockey, even through those tumultuous teenage years when you can't really talk to your old man because, you're in your rebellion years. That 3 hours when we could sit down and watch a hockey game together and you could talk about the game of hockey and almost use that as a fill-in for the things that you needed to talk about that were more important, has been unbelievable. And now we're both older, and it's still that link. Every time we get on the phone, it's did you see this game? What do you think about this guy? Blah blah blah. So, those are the things that hockey's given me, and I want as many people in the world as possible to get to experience that, and so that's why I choose to do what I do.
Now, Shawn, thanks for that's great about you and your father. Let's talk about hockey here. For those who don't know, what's your role with NHL? What do you do for them?
So what I do now, and it's been for the last year or so. I've moved from I've moved into more of an editor role than a writing role. I started out as a writer. I was a beat writer for the Devils and the Rangers 20 years ago when they each won their cup, and then I worked for FoxSports.com when they launched for a while, and I've been at the league with their website for 15 years. And
wow.
It's been a good run, and now I do basically what I do now. I'm the director of editorial, so I kind of plan the editorial calendar, assign writers, figure out how we're going to cover big events, and do a lot of stuff like that. I still do a little bit of writing here and there. Which is, for as long as I can remember, has been my biggest passion. So I don't know that I'll ever give that up. But it's been an interesting transition into doing a lot more of kind of planning and figuring out how you're going to cover big events and doing some stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I do now.
Yeah, Shawn, with hockey always being that sport that's always tried to compete. How have you guys with the NHL tried to stay competitive in this, ever expanding social media and stuff?
Well, one of the things is we have a slight advantage because a lot of traditional media in the past 10 years has gone away from covering the sport, sadly. The LA's had, two of the last three Super Bowl Stanley Cup champions.
Yep.
And they don't cover, the papers don't cover them full time. So we've been able to kind of step into that breach, and we have a writer in every market. Freelancers for the most part, correspondents, other than our staff guys who cover the local teams, which would be Philly, the two New York teams, and Jersey. We have correspondents in every market. And a lot of them are ex-newspaper guys that have, lost their jobs or, gone on to do other things and kind of do it on the side. But so we have a presence in every market, and anybody that's interested in any team can find all that information on NHL.com. We've been, from the top, from Gary Bettman on down, who's the commissioner, there's been a commitment to social media, to all the emerging ways of communicating to fans. Because if the fans of hockey, they're very knowledgeable, they're very technically savvy. You're able to communicate with them on a number of levels.
Yes.
And we've kind of, been at the vanguard of doing a lot of that stuff, whether it's social media or, through Game Center and all the other initiatives we've had, the app and everything else. So it's been an amazing ride to kind of see how that happens and how far we've come. But, there's almost nothing that's off limits when as a site we're trying to communicate with the fans, because we have a very unique challenge in that we draw the whole spectrum. We draw the dude that just wants to know when somebody's playing because they want to get tickets to go to their first game, to the guy who's scraping our stats for advanced stats conversations, and we have to satisfy all those things. So, our editorial goes from a very simple, like during that Winter Classic that was in D.C., I did a number of stories with Duff Goldman, the baker who's on the Food Network. And look, I'm not going to be shy about it. Part of that's cross-pollination. Like, we wanted to get
Why not?
We wanted to get some of his fans to be like, hey, what's this thing? I'm going to tune in. I'm going to watch it. Because both of us know if I can get you to watch a hockey game, there's better than a 50% chance you're going to watch another one, because it's the greatest thing you're ever going to see.
By far.
So, we do that all the time. But then we have guys that write very technical. We have a guy in Vancouver, our correspondent in Vancouver, runs a goalie magazine. That's his other gig. So every Thursday I have him do a goalie column. It's called Unmasked. And he gets in. I was a goalie growing up, and he gets into things that even I don't understand. And I know it's not for everybody, but I put it on the site because I know there's a portion of our readership that just love it. And, we want to provide for everybody. We want to provide for that guy that's coming in for the first time, or that lady that's coming in for the first time and saying, hey, I really want to check this out. So you can't be all like, advanced stats and Corsi and all this, because you're going to lose those people.
Yeah, they're like Corsi, Fenwick, my head's going to blow up.
Yeah, so we need to walk a very fine line. But you also don't want to be like, this is the blue line and this is offsides. And then the dude that's been a fan for 25 years and is coming because he wants to read something a little more in depth is like, this is for, training wheels. So that's been a really interesting thing to kind of negotiate.
Shawn, you said at the start of that, you got correspondence ever. Me covering the Washington Capitals here, Adam Vingan is amazing. He knocks his pieces out of the park. You just said Adam or Neil Greenberg or any of the guys we have here in Washington or Alex Pruitt, you can always reach them. You can send them a tweet, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to get back to you.
Yep.
Even if it's Greg Wyshynski, the puck daddy, the hockey writers never seem like they're out of touch. And that's what I love about hockey, just like metal.
It's that sense of community, and look, we've all I like to think that we've all been very lucky to get where we are, no matter where that is, in the spectrum of covering professional hockey. I've been incredibly blessed. Every day when I think about it, this is all I've ever wanted to do, and to get to, close to 50 and to still be doing it, I've been incredibly lucky, and the reason is because of all the people that have come into my life and come before me and have given me opportunities, and I've made it very much a part of who I am, that I want to do that for other people. And the perhaps the greatest thing that I've been able to do at NHL.com is start this program of correspondence. We started it about 5 years ago, and we only had like maybe 5 markets, really big markets. We had somebody in Boston, and a couple other. We had somebody in Chicago and Detroit. It was actually the same guy, did both. You drive back and forth.
Okay.
Lived right in the middle. And we had a guy in L.A., Curtis Zupke, who's been with us the whole time. And then every year we've kind of added. We wanted to see if it would work, and then we added a couple more. And what we ended up doing was we ended up getting away. You asked how we compete in that market. What we ended up doing is we ended up getting away from using the Associated Press and doing our own game stories. Every game story on NHL.com is unique to NHL.com.
I never knew that.
You will not find it anywhere else. Every game story is uniquely written by somebody, in that arena, or if for some reason they're sick, we'll do it from the office. But we do not use any AP copy at all. All our previews, all our game stories, and pretty much all of our editorial is written either through a correspondent or through one of our 5 or 6 staff writers. So the correspondent program now, I have somebody in 25 buildings, and we cover the other 5.
Wow.
And to be able to give people that opportunity, and it runs all over the place. It's from Adam's a younger guy breaking into the business. Our guy in Nashville, still in college, doing a great job.
Wow, that's awesome.
His name's Robbie Stanley, and he's doing a fantastic job. To guys, for a long time, we had a guy in Pittsburgh, Alan Robinson, who had worked for the AP and had left, was going to retire, and just wanted, something on the side. And to be able to do that for a guy like that, was fantastic. So to kind of give some of the guys that we've given an opportunity, and you know what, several of them have been hired to do other things. and they call me up and they're like, "Hey, listen, I'm really sorry I had this opportunity," and I cut them right off, and I'm like, "Good, go,
good, yeah, keep on moving up."
And that's what I want to do. That's what people did for me, and that's what I want to do. So, that's been the most rewarding thing for me.
But Shawn, again, I'm fighting the cold. How do you see the fans reacting? Do the fans like this interaction and these writers that they can get to know, and where it's not just an AP piece, where it's almost no personality attached with it?
Yeah, no, for sure. You want to be able to associate with somebody. I mean, I would imagine it's the same for you, but I grew up reading the newspapers, and the guys that wrote the stories, they were almost as important as the stories that they were telling. You got to know their voices, and you got to know the way they wrote, and some you liked and some you didn't. And what's more fun than finding somebody that you don't like that writes and just, reading them for that reason because you don't like them.
I like it, yep.
And you just want to catch them making a stupid point so you can send off that email and be like, "You're such an idiot." And I get these every day. I don't anymore because I don't write as much, but I'll tell you a great story. I mean, I know a little bit, and you get a lot of feedback. Before there was a ton of email when I worked back in the newspaper business. Like I said, I covered the Devils and the Rangers, but I also did a lot of high school sports early on. And one day I was in the office and I got a letter, and I opened it up. And when I opened it up, it was my story folded up, like the guy had ripped it out of the newspaper.
Oh, you excited him.
And it was folded up, and when I unfolded it, there was a bunch of bird poop on it.
Oh.
And all he did was he wrote on the top of the story, "This is what I thought of your story." And I just sat at my desk and I laughed and laughed. How much work did that take? Like, to put the story in the birdcage face up so the bird on it, then take it out, fold it up, address it to me, and send it off. And everybody's like, "Aren't you mad?" And I'm like, "No,
this is great. That's why I would frame it and hang it on the wall."
Yeah. So, people want to associate with the people that write and, kind of have that comfort level. And then, like you said, to be able to converse with them. When you look on the web now, everybody's doing chats and, all these kind of things where the access has never been as great as it is now into how the sausage is made. And it's in both the things we're talking about. You've never had much access into how music was made. It just showed up one day and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Now you got guys like showing their tricks of the trade, through YouTube, like doing tutorial videos and everything else. And in our business, everybody's so open about what they do and how they do it. And, guys are waiting to get on the plane and they're doing, 15 question and answer type things. So that's the way it has to be now. You can never go back to the clear divide between inside the fence and outside the fence.
Shawn, that leads me to a great point. You here with, a couple of decades now, one as a fan of the sport, but now working for NHL.com. A lot of the old-timers may, hate the, and I do air quotes, the advanced stats. What is your take on that, and how, a bunch of teams are hiring these guys, and how even a bunch of websites now are just featuring advanced stats?
Yeah, I'm of two minds of it. Because
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm one to say, yeah, advanced stats are nice, but to me, a lot of them go over my head. And, here in Washington, if I talk to like a Neil Greenberg, he can throw stats at me that leave me speechless because they can prove anything. Like, hey, Sunday games at 3 o'clock on odd days, Ovechkin has this % of scoring. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, and look, stats can tell any story you want them to tell, and I think they need to be used selectively. And look, there's obviously a market for it because teams have hired guys to do it, and before any of this came out, there were teams that had guys doing it, and you never knew about it. And to me, one of the biggest things is it's been somewhat militant. In the way that the lines have been drawn, like you're either with them or you're against them.
It's pretty strong.
and I don't feel that way. Like, there's some advanced stats I can use. Look, I went into writing because math gives me a headache. So some advanced stats are a little more than I can bite off. And I have some guys on my staff who are really into it. Corey Massasak, who spent a lot of time in D.C. before he joined us, has kind of led the vanguard for us. And, he's really brilliant about it, and he's able to explain a lot of things to me about it. But it's going to be here, and they're not that advanced. I mean, it's just taking the numbers that are already there and looking at them a different way. But I think in the end, you have to do both. You have to look at those numbers, and for me, it's kind of what I find myself doing is going back and looking at some of those numbers after I've made a decision myself from watching. Like where I watch a game and I'm like, wow, I thought Alec Martinez was really good in that game. Then you can kind of go back and you can look and say, okay, the numbers back that up. Obviously that's a very small sample size. It'd be more like, I think Alec Martinez has been really good this year. And then you can go back and you can kind of say, oh yeah, look at the numbers. Look at, where he started it, each of his shifts, where he did this, what his puck possession was, what his Corsi close was, what all those things are. And you can paint a better picture of, what your eyes told you.
That's a great point.
I don't think you could just kind of sit there with spreadsheets and try and tell a GM that you should sign this guy in free agency because his numbers are great, because there's still things that go into it that you can't measure, that you'll never be able to measure. You can't measure a locker room. And to me, that's a huge part of this whole equation is, you look at what's going on with Evander Kane now, and Winnipeg, and you can look at his advanced stat numbers and you can be like, hey, yeah, that guy, he's great, but they have a problem. And I'm not saying it's Evander Kane. And for those that aren't familiar, this is the Winnipeg Jets, and Evander Kane's one of their young superstars, and he's out 4 to 6 months for surgery. But right before that, they had a big to-do in their locker room. Somebody took his clothes and threw him in the shower because they were angry. He showed up in a sweatsuit, but it wasn't the first time that something had happened with him. And that's what I'm kind of saying. You pick up these things when you watch the game, and the numbers can tell you whatever you want, but your eyes can tell you something different. And
that's always been my problem, Shawn. That's always been my problem, is that it's hard as the fan. And, we're passionate, but our eyes are seeing one thing on the ice. And sometimes the stats don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't go with that.
Yeah, but look, it's a two-way street because that passion can blind you. Like you can be.
You're right.
Like you love a player, and for whatever reason, you like his name. The first game you ever went to go see him, he fought somebody and he beat somebody way bigger than him, and you can be like, I love that guy, and I think he's awesome. And no matter what he does, you're going to be like, you know what? He's not the problem. Somebody else is the problem. He plays hard every night. He has his chances. But you're blinded. And you don't know you're blinded because, look, it's an emotional game, and everybody has favorites, and everybody has – but when you're the GM or when you're the director of player personnel or you're one of those guys making those decisions – they're just like us. They have favorites. That's why guys have been on teams for years after you're like, how come that guy's still on this team? He's all done. And the reason that they're there is because there's personal relationships and there's ties that bind. And I think a lot of times the advanced stats and looking deeper into numbers helps divorce that, helps say that, I love this guy, but he's no good anymore. I think if you look again, if you cross sports and you look, I think the Patriots in football are the poster child of that, and that they've had all these great players and they get rid of them the year or 2 years before they're done. Wes Welker, when Wes Welker left, everybody's like, what are the Patriots doing? This is the worst thing ever. He's never been the same player. They understood that his lifespan as a productive player was coming to an end. They traded Logan Mankins, who was the anchor of their line before the year started. Everybody threw up their hands and said, what are they doing? And they understood, and a lot of that is very cold and calculated. Like, I don't care what you've done for us. We're running a business here, and you can no longer help us.
And no longer.
We're going to do something about it. And I think when you get into analytics in the NHL, you're going to see more and more of that. I think one of the poster boys for that is probably David Clarkson. In Toronto, Toronto signed him because they saw what they wanted to see. They saw a power forward that could score 30 goals and could do a lot of different things. But he was in a sheltered system. The coach that he played for loved him and played him a ton and put him in really favorable positions. And I love David Clarkson. But when you saddle him with that kind of money and those kind of expectations in Toronto, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think if you went back and you looked at some of the advanced stat numbers before that deal was made, and these guys that do that, I think they'll tell you immediately and tell you gleefully that they could have predicted what happened. Maybe not to the degree that he's fallen off.
Yeah.
He was a healthy scratch this week in Toronto, which is shocking. But even me, who not grew up, I was an older guy when he got there, but who's watched a ton of Devil games, and David plays the game the way that I enjoy the game to be played. He was a prototypical power forward that came out of nowhere and did everything for you. Scored goals, went to the front of the net, fought when you needed somebody to fight, did all those things. But you know what? That's a lot of mileage on your body really quick. And like I said, he was put in really good positions with the Devils, who did not have a lot of scoring talent on their team. So he was able to pile up some really impressive numbers, and he hasn't been able to replicate it since he went to Toronto. So I think that's where an advanced stats thing can help a lot when you have one vision of him and you want to double check it. You want to say, hey, this is the way I feel about this guy. If the numbers tell me the same thing, I'm going to do it. If the numbers tell me something different, I'm going to go talk to a third person, and that's how we're going to break this tie.
Yeah, you mentioned that about your first experience with a player can set the way what you think of them. I saw Steve Downey fight Matt Bradley with the Caps a couple years back. I've hated Steve Downey ever since.
Exactly. You'll watch it and you'll be like, he has no talent. He can't do anything right. And then you go look at the numbers, and there's things that he does well.
Does Steve Downey do anything exceptionally well?
Well, I think he serves a purpose because he's been in the league for a long time.
He has,
and he does. He can
agitate.
He can play the game. Nobody gets to this level anymore that you can't play the game. He may not play it the way everybody wants him to play it, but I think he's a useful player in a lot of the things that he does. But it colors you. Look, when I was younger and I was still in Rhode Island growing up, to me, Cam Neely was the greatest hockey player that I had ever seen, because that's what I wanted to do on skates. I wanted to be that guy that went to the front of the net. I wanted to be that guy that everybody was afraid to try and stop. I wanted to be that guy that when somebody got in front of me, I just punched him in the mouth and took on all comers and said, this is the way. And then, scored 50 goals. Like, he did it all. And to me, whenever anybody says, who's the best player you ever saw, Cam's going to be right in that argument. But I bet you if we went back and we did some advanced numbers, guys could find 10 or 15 guys that were better than Cam Neely. And it doesn't matter anymore because I don't really care. He's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I have my memories of him. But there is an analytical point. But the part that you can't separate is the way the Bruins played because of who Cam Neely was and the way he played, and that they knew they were never going to be intimidated and that they were never going to be in a game where they were going to be on the wrong end of that kind of play. And that's a huge thing that you can never, ever quantify. So, like I said, there's a place for those stats, but to me, it can never be – like, your GM will never be a stat guy. I can't imagine an NHL GM. And look, people have the wrong idea about it all, because Billy Beane is not a stat guy. Like, Moneyball in baseball was about stats and new stats and everything else, but it was about doing things differently. And if you want to get ahead in anything, music, sports, factory work, I don't care what it is, if you find a way to do something better than all of your competition, that's great. Like, that's what you should be doing. And that's what these guys are doing now. It's find me a way. Find me a way to be more effective I trade, to be more effective when I sign free agents, to be more effective when I call guys up from the minors. find me a way to find better players. And that should be lauded for what it is, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
Okay, great. To go back, a couple more questions and I'll let you go. Again, for those listening, follow Shawn at SROARKE_NHL. Shawn's been awesome to talk to. Follow him. Shawn, to bring it back to my Capitals here, Mike Green is in the last year of his $6.2 million contract. It's been said that the Caps may let him go after this season. What do you think?
I think in today's NHL, I think if you don't think you can sign him, and if you can't sign him at a discount, if you're the Washington Capitals, I don't know that you want to sign him. I don't think that he's the player he was once. I think he's still a good player. I don't know that he's worth $6 million a year anymore. If you can't sign him, I don't think you can wait. I don't think you can say, all right, look, we're in the playoff race and we have a chance to do something special this year. Because I think the East is wide open and I don't know that there's an elite team, so the Caps could do something. But how do you say, all right, we're going to hold on to Green and we're going to go for it, and then summer comes and look, he's one of your top 5 chips on that team. And now July 1st comes and you have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So what do you do? Like, look, the NHL is all about assets now. It's all about asset management, and with the salary cap, how you're going to manage your roster and how you're going to do all those things. And if you're making that kind of money and you're not making that kind of impact, you need to do something else. And as difficult it is, because Mike's one of those guys, like he's been with the Caps since he was a kid, and he did some amazing things.
Prior to where the Caps were now, he was there at the start.
He was there for the whole Rock the Red.
Yep.
It's been him and Alex and guys like that have brought the Caps from a moribund organization to one of the most exciting in the league, and had some great playoff runs, and have turned Washington back into a hockey market that's one of the hottest in the league. But again, we were just talking about the Patriots, and there's a price for loyalty, and you really have to choose whether you're going to pay it or not. And I think there's a huge price to be paid here. But look, you may put them on the market, and you may not get what you want, and then you got to make a really tough decision. Are you selling them for pennies on the dollar just so you can say I got an asset back? Look, I mean, look at the Philip Forsberg deal.
Yes.
Are
you trying to make me Shawn? We've been having a blast. You trying to make me sad?
But I'm saying that's where you're at this point. You're trying to change the team and you're trying to manage your assets. But these are things that are franchise altering. And I'm glad I get to write about it and I don't have to make those decisions because it'd keep me up at night.
Yeah, that Forsberg deal, I think that may be one of the everlasting legacies of George McPhee here in Washington. I can't explain that one.
But you know what? If it had worked, who cares?
Yeah, great point.
Look at the Gabrick deal. Look at the, all those deals that LA made and the assets they gave up to make them. They worked. So, what do you want? Do you want a cup and then you have to look at a guy on another team? It'd be like, oh, we had him once, and could you imagine if we still had him? But we won a cup because we gave him up. So, you make those gambles, and that's what they are. They're gambles, and you have to live with it. It's like going all in, hoping you hit on the river. And if you don't, there's a big price to be paid. But if you do, you're raking in all the chips, and you look like you're some sort of genius. And that's kind of the high-stake world these guys play in. So, again, and that dovetails back right into the analytics thing. I'm sure they're crunching the numbers and they're saying, look, where are we playing Mike Green? What situations is he playing in? What's his numbers when he plays in, starts in his own zone compared to when he starts in the attacking zone? What's his numbers against their top 6 forwards as opposed to their bottom 6 forwards? And all those numbers are being crunched. But the problem is now they're being crunched everywhere else too, and you're not getting that one GM that goes, oh, I remember when Mike Green had the 70-point season. You should go get that guy because he's available
I remember
as a trade target.
Yeah, I remember when he had 8 goals in eight games. Yeah,
everybody's getting a little bit smarter now. That's the problem. When the bar raises it, you only have a year where you can kind of take advantage of everybody, and then everybody else smartens up and says, okay, we're going to get up to that. And you need to get up to the next level. It's an amazing thing to kind of watch. And so, I don't know what's going to happen with Mike, but I do know that, I would think there would have to be an asset, or there would have to be some sort of deal available to them. They would have to know that they had a good chance going into the summer that they could do something with him, even if they couldn't get it done by the trade deadline.
Okay, you look at this stretch coming up. Where you see Washington making the Metropolitan playoff spot, or do you see them getting a wild card slot?
It's such a crazy division,
isn't it?
I said, there's nobody
like the Islanders. The Islanders aren't first.
There's no dominant team, man. It's like the Penguins can't pull away.
The Rangers lost the ball.
Yeah. Sidney hasn't been as good. He's still, Crosby's still one of the top players, but he hasn't been dominant as much as he has been. And Marc-Andre Fleury's been great, but you just kind of wait for the playoffs and you want to see who Marc-Andre Fleury's going to be in the playoffs. And I like Marc-Andre. I've defended him for years.
But can you defend him in the postseason?
Yeah, I can. I think that team has more problems in the postseason than Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay.
You go back and you look at those Flyer series that they played, and there's something wrong with that team mentally.
Being a Caps fan in the postseason, I can't speak. So
I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean that they change the way they play. You're talking about a skill team that can run people out of the building, and all of a sudden they're losing their mind and they want to fight everybody, and Crosby wants to fight, and so teams in this league know when the playoffs come, you're not going to waste your time doing it in the regular season because it's too much effort for 2 points. But when the playoffs come and you can play a 7-game series, you can make those guys crazy and see what they do. And that's going to be your best chance to beat them. So, and then, look, the Rangers, I'm not sold on the Rangers. I haven't been all year. And now, Lundqvist is out for a month with that vascular injury he has, which is unbelievably scary.
Crazy.
Came out today and said if he had continued playing, he was, there was a chance he was going to have a stroke. So thank God they caught it. But now they have Cam Talbot in net. I mean, the guy's played 30 games in the NHL in his life. He's been very good at it, but now when he's a number one, what happens? So it'll be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. The Islanders, this is new ground for them. So, there is no elite team. And I definitely think, with the way Brandon Holtby's playing and the way that Barry Trotz has that team playing, that they can be one of the top 3 teams in the Metropolitan Division. And by the way, you've lived it all year, and I have to say from the outside, the job that Barry Trotz has done this year is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and there's so many great candidates for Coach of the Year. You got Paul Maurice in Winnipeg. You got Peter Laviolette in Nashville. I mean, Nashville leads the entire league, and you probably can't name 5 guys on their team. And look, Mike Babcock should win Coach of the Year at some point, just for his body of work and what he's done. To me, he's one of the greatest coaches in this game. But what Barry's done in Washington is unbelievable. I mean, look at what he's done with Alex. I mean, all the stuff Alex has gone through.
Yeah, look at that. He scored again today, 33 goals.
Yeah, and he forget the goals because he's always going to score goals. He's playing hockey again.
Yes, he's not one-sided again.
And he's invested. He's invested in this team, and that's Barry. I mean, and look at what he did in Nashville for years. He's one of my favorite people in hockey. And see, here we go again. this is the bias. Like, I've always enjoyed Barry. I loved when he was in Nashville and what he did with those teams. He's always had time. He's one of the nicest guys in the world. So my view's a little colored. And again, that's where I would go and I would look and say, all right, I think Barry's doing a really good job. Let me go figure out, if I'm just being biased. And I'm not being biased. He's done a fantastic job. He's brought along some of those younger kids really well. He's fixed their defense to a degree. He's fixed the way they played the game. They can play a defensive game now without looking like they did under Hunter. When they played defense and it was painful to watch. They could play it, but it was so one-sided that they forgot how to play offense.
Yep.
Now they can play both, and they're comfortable doing it. They're comfortable in a shootout. They're comfortable in a one-goal game. They can play a 2-1 game, and they can play a 5-3 game just as easily. And what he's done with the other thing is Mitch Korn being there.
I think that's made Braden Holtby's play step up tenfold.
I mean, that guy has coached some of the greatest goalies in the history of the game, and he's done it in such unorthodox ways. And, goalies rave about him. I mean, he had Dominik Hasek for a while. He had Pekka Rinne. He had Mason when Mason was in Nashville. He had all those guys, and he made them all into quality goalies. And he's done wonders with Braden Holtby. And this is as good as I've ever seen Braden play. And if he plays that way, look, I don't want to bring back another bad memory, but, that Montreal series.
I was just going there, Sean. Were you trying to make me cry?
When Halak basically ruined your chance at the Stanley Cup, I think that's something, with the way Braden's playing that, when you get into playoffs, everyone's going to be like, oh, the Caps, what about their goalie? Braden Holtby's never done anything, and what's he going to do? He's that guy. He's that guy that can go on a 22-game run where, he goes 16-6 or something like that. He's done it during the season. So, I think they're a legitimate threat.
Sean, I think that two more questions and I'll let you go. You've given me more than enough of your time. I think that's the problem with Washington here is that since 2010, the identity of the Caps. You remember the Bruce Boudreau President's Cup winning Caps? We would come out, if we were down 2 goals, 3 goals, who cares? We'd come out and score 4, 5, or 6 goals a game. We were an exciting shoot-the-lights-out team. We played Montreal in that season, and they beat us by blocking everything that we shoot on net. They play a defensive game. Ever since then, the identity of Washington, I think, has been so up in the damn air that we've been trying to find who we are as a team based on the assets that we have, the coaches that we have at that time. But I think Coach Trotz right now is, in the process of starting to turn things around.
Yeah, look, you need to have both in your DNA because the problem is, think about it. Who's the last run-and-gun team to win a Stanley Cup? It's the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2009. Every team that's won since then, it's been Chicago twice, Boston, L.A. twice. I might be forgetting one in there somewhere, but they're all two-way, 200-foot teams. It's the only way you can win because if you think you're gonna get in a shootout, there's teams in this league that can just clamp you right down, and they can take away your guys that can score, and they're gonna clog the middle, and they're gonna do all these things that are going to take away your offensive game. Look at the series you've played against the Rangers the last couple of years. The Rangers, until Alain Vigneault took over, they were that team, man. They would just suffocate you to death.
Yep.
So you need to be comfortable playing in that game. You need to understand how to win a 2-1 game, and then you need to understand how to win a 5-4 game. And because you're going to face all kinds of teams in the playoffs. I look at that run the Pittsburgh Penguins had a couple of years ago when they got that scare in the first round against the Islanders, and that was a back-and-forth series because neither goalie could stop a puck. The games were 6-4 and whatever else they were, and then they played Ottawa, and that wasn't a great matchup, and they were able to get through that. And then they got into a series where, it was really defensive, and they just couldn't, Boston just suffocated them. The Penguins had 2 goals, I think.
Yeah.
in that series, and it was all matchups. Claude dictated what they were going to do throughout that series. Chara was at the height of his powers, and he could just take a line out by himself. And the Penguins knew no other way to play. They could not settle into that game and say, okay, we're going to play for one goal. We're not going to give you any. You're not going to give us any. And we're comfortable with a twice deflected shot going in under the crossbar.
That's a great point.
And we'll let that decide who wins this game. It wasn't in their DNA. Their players did not know how to do it, and they lost the plot really quickly.
Last hockey question. Shawn, you work for the NHL, please. Can you explain what's happening in Edmonton? Can you explain it?
It's growing pains. It's trying to.
But how do you have so many number one draft picks? Is it the team not gelling? How do you explain this?
Look, it's funny because I just did a story. We're doing our other outdoor game this year is in San Jose, and I had to do a piece for the program on the Kings being a model franchise. Because they're the team that's playing San Jose in that game. And I went back and I looked, and, the Kings have 41 playoff wins in the last 3 years, right? The 2 years before that, they got knocked out in the first round. The 6 years before that, they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it takes a while to build.
So you're saying Edmonton is building?
Hey, look, they've taken a few steps backwards. And look, the other thing I'm going to say about them is they've put all their eggs in one basket.
Okay.
They've built their forward line, their forward depth through all those high picks, and they don't have the other pieces. And again, we're talking about an NHL right now where you build from the back out. Think about every team that's good in the NHL right now. Quick. Rask, Price, all elite goalies, Crawford. These are all elite guys. You build that the biggest chip on your team has to be your goalie. And then after that, it's
Anderson in the Ducks, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's your defense. Look, the Kings won Drew Doughty, Norris Trophy finalist. Maybe the best defenseman in the league. The Hawks have won. They got a Norris Trophy winner on their team and one or two other guys to back them up. The Bruins have won. They got Chara and Seidenberg, right? Total shutdown D. Like all those teams that are struggling and are in the back end, you think about Buffalo, you think about Edmonton. The goalie has just been a Carolina. Goalie's just been a merry-go-round of guys that are NHL guys, but they're not elite and they're not protected by any kind of defensive system. And I think that's what Edmonton's going towards now. What they're trying to do, that the Nurse draft last year. I think that kid's going to be a good defenseman for them, and that's where they need to build. And even the steps they've made to try and do that, bringing in Andrew Ferentz, who played for the Stanley Cup champion Bruins, everybody's in the wrong spot. You can have all the great young guys you want, but if you can't slot them where they need to be, there's only very few all-world talents where you can take an 18-year-old kid and put all the world on him and say, okay, go and do what you need to do. Alex was one of those players.
You're right.
John Tavares was one of those players. But a lot of players, they need to be protected for a couple of years, and they haven't been able to do that in Edmonton. And, like Andrew Ferentz is playing, he's a top 2 guy in Edmonton. He's not a top 2 guy. He was a 4 in Boston, and he was unbelievably successful at it. And they're all up in weight, and that's where you get problems. So until they can fix the depth in their organization and kind of be able to slot guys into the places they need to be, they're going to have a huge problem.
I totally agree with you. Shawn, last question of the day. And please, again, thank you for joining me. For everybody listening who's a metalhead, give us a lasting album or band that we should be checking out now. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
A new band?
No, anything. Whenever you're listening, give us a recommendation to listen to. And also, one last hockey question. If you're building a team, do you draft Ovechkin or Crosby first?
Oof. I think I still take Crosby first.
As much as I love Ovi, as you see in my office, cap stuff everywhere, I may take that same bet.
just because you need somebody that can do everything.
Yeah, you're right. But metal.
As much as Ovi does, and he does more now, I still think Crosby's a better all-around player.
I think so too.
So there's a couple of bands I already mentioned. In the course of this conversation, the Pilgrim Band out of Rhode Island. I really like those guys. If you like Doom, Hammers of Misfortune is kind of just like a trippy, all over the place type of band. Like I talked about, Clutch is my favorite band. Yep. And I know they're putting out a new album soon, and they're in the studio. And another band that I really love, and they're in the studio right now putting out an album, is a band out of Detroit called Battlecross.
Oh, dude, those guys have been amazing.
Yeah, thrashy, just straight up rock and roll. And you talked about great guys. Those guys are great guys.
Great with the fans.
Yeah, no, I've seen them every tour they've come on, and then I've gotten a chance to meet them because they're on Brian's label, but they're fantastic. Always have time for everybody, and their first 2 albums have been fantastic, and they do things the right way. And one of the bands that they were on tour with last year's band out of Canada called Crimson Shadows.
They made my top 10 list also.
Yeah, a little bit of Viking type. Norse stuff. I really like what they're doing, and the new Unearthed album is ridiculous. That might be my favorite album.
Okay,
and I don't know if that was a 214 or 215. I don't know when it
Whatever.
came. But if you're looking for the album of the year, that might be it. It was ridiculous. So cool. That's a few of the bands I would check out if I were you. Or if I was your listeners. I know you've already checked them out.
Yeah, I have. Well, Shawn, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Is there anything you want to hype here, anything you want to promote right now, this final couple of seconds, brother?
No, I'm good, man. I really appreciate you having me on. I love doing these kind of things, and I love talking about, all the stuff that we've talked about, so it's been great. And, if people are into hockey, I can't suggest strong enough that they come to NHL.com because I think there'll be something there for them, but also to check out blogs like yours. There's a whole, we can't cover everything, and the blog community is so strong now and so fantastic. There's something for everybody there. With a little exploration, you're going to find something that's going to make you a better fan or make you enjoy the game more, and just explore and find your level and what you want, and that's kind of the service that all those blogs provide. So I hope everybody that listens just engages as much as they can in what they're passionate about, and hopefully you or I can help them in some way do that. That's
a great. But Shawn, whoever runs your guys' social media, always. Well, you can tweet at NHL, and they always retweet. They always respond back. It's a great league. It's a great whole team that you're surrounded by.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
So again, follow Shawn at SROARKE_NHL. Shawn, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, and I'm glad you had me on because I've been listening to a couple of shows to get ready for it, and I think I want to be a regular listener now.
Hey,
so
thank you, brother.